Hey guys, BS Squared Gaming here. We are a gaming channel who talks primarily about the Overwatch League. We will get into other games and our thought on our favorite game, Overwatch. Okay? Starting from left to right, we're going to tell you our names and something about us. Right here.
I'm Sideways and I'm a good-for-nothing Ash one trick.
I'm Brainwashed and I play every hero, but I'm not good at any of them.
And I'm Suppa21 and I'm a Mercy main who only seems to pocket the Ash.
There you go. That's us. So a little bit about ourselves. You can see I like Dallas, Sideways likes Gladiators, and Supbud likes Shock. Those are our teams, and we'll tell you the reasons why we follow the teams. Okay, starting with Sideways.
Well, we're in Southern California. LA sports have always been a big part of my life, and, just always got to support the LA team. Of course, I have players that I like in different teams, like Dallas, because Paris is now dead to me, but we'll talk about that later.
I like Dallas, and it may seem like I'm a bandwagoner, but truthfully, I kind of go for the most exciting team of the season. LA Valiant was my first one because of LA, and then they got rid of their good core. And then it was Atlanta Reign, mostly because of Dafran, and he's an exciting player, i.e. his play on Hollywood in the GOATS meta.
When he went over the building?
Yeah, when he went over the
building.
building.
Yeah, that was against Paris back when...
Yeah, that was sick.
Paris was bad.
The Zarya.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that.
And then it stayed Atlanta in the third season because of Dogman. But now that Dogman's gone, I kind of looked at every team, and I saw that Dallas is getting together a pretty good roster right now, and I'm really excited for it. Young blood, young team, ready to fucking rock and roll.
And we saw a lot of those guys already prove themselves on Paris.
Exactly.
They're good.
We'll talk about it. Don't worry. And then Shock's always been my second team before Supbud says anything. Shock's been my team since day one, mostly because of the colors and then because of the players.
Ooh, the colors.
And then,
the colors.
I like the colors.
I'm a Shockhand diehard fan. I was born into a family that's already a San Francisco fan, and when I found out on season 1, when Shock was a team, with the earlier people. Wait,
what are you doing?
I'm pointing at the San Francisco flag.
Oh, I
That's
didn't
up
even
above.
notice.
I was like, what the heck? When they had Architect, when they had sweeping everybody, it was really cool. And
Well, back when Dante and Baby Bay were on the team.
I forgot about Baby
yeah,
Bay. I
and,
always forget
it's
about
just,
Baby Bay.
I'm a San Francisco diehard fan, and Shock has just always been there for me. And we'll talk about the Gladiators and the Shock upcoming with season 4, but diehard right here in 2 seasons, about to be 3.
Yeah, as you can see, we're all big video game fans. These two like Ratchet and Clank. We got them in the back. I'm more of an Overwatch fan, but I have other ones. We play COD Zombies. We'll talk about COD Zombies. Me and him just started Jump Force. We'll talk about Jump Force and how Trafalgar D Law is overpowered. It's just different games and stuff. We're not gonna bog. It's gonna seem like we're gonna bog ourselves down with just Overwatch League and Overwatch content, but everything's gonna be in here. We have a couple of cool things coming up. We're going to talk about all our most exciting trades that happened over this offseason. I think because it's such a long list that we're not going to talk about much else, but we have one thing at the end that we'll come in with.
Map analysis.
Exactly.
Map analysis. There you go.
So let's just get it started. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
There you go. Okay. So starting off with the Atlanta Reign, they had a lot of departures, and the reason why I don't like them anymore.
Ooh.
So they got rid of Fire, who's not really relevant. They got rid of Dogman. Dogman again was my favorite player.
Very
bummed
vocal
about
player.
that. Very vocal. Very vocal. He's great. I think that trash talk is really good for the sport.
Oh, and I loved whenever he'd have a big play and he'd plug his Twitch stream in
the chat.
in the chat.
Yeah, exactly. They got rid of FRD. FRD was really he was just a really cool guy. He wasn't great, but he was a really cool guy. You could just tell.
Well, they didn't really need FRD anymore because they have Gator.
Yeah, exactly. Gator and Hawk it was Hawk. FRD was an off tank.
You
Hawk
sure
is
about? I thought the FRD was main tank.
No, FRD played mainly Diva. Back when Diva was real big.
Interesting. Oh yeah, because Pokepo was the main tank.
Pokepo, yeah.
That's
Pokepo
right.
was the main tank.
I'm stupid.
Yeah, he is just a little bit. They got rid of Erster, which was another big reason why I stopped liking him. Erster, I think, is a great team. We'll get into what team he got onto and why I think it's so good for him. But just know that it's a really sad day when you see such a good player go.
He is yet the only person who has a Tracer 6K in the league.
Next is...
I've done it. Maybe I haven't. I don't know.
Next is Pokpo. Pokpo, he was good. He had a really good personality. He gelled well with the team. He just wasn't great. He's not, other main tank level, which is fine. I wasn't real sad about that. I think he was a big part of the team, and I think without him, the Atlanta Rain's going to be different. Even though they didn't play him towards the end, I don't know. Pokpo's always Atlanta Rain to me. So if he never gets picked up, it'll be sad, but that's okay, because he's just not another team.
Yeah, like you couldn't see him playing on another team.
No, not at all. And then they got rid of Saucy, which who cares? And lastly, they signed Pelican.
Big pickup.
Big pickup. He has really good aim, like crazy aim. That's all I saw, really. I think he has.
Yeah, so in the LA Valiant Winter Ball, it was the Atlanta Rain, LA Gladiators, LA Valiant, and Florida Mayhem. Pelican had a very, very good showing on Echo, especially. Because the team comps they were mostly running in that whole tournament was Ball, Sigma, Ash, and then Tracer / Echo, Zen, and some Brig.
Yeah, ew, gross.
I will miss Erster's Genji though. That man knew how to play.
Erster's Genji was crazy. Yeah. They ended up. We'll talk about it. What was he? He was playing mostly Ash.
What's that?
What was he playing mostly? Pelican?
Yeah. He was on Echo.
He was on Echo a lot?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting, because I saw him a lot on when I was watching the highlight that he put out, which was pretty old highlight, but he was playing mostly like hit scan heroes.
Interesting. Yeah.
And a lot of Hans though.
Who else? Well, they have Edison still, right?
They do have Edison.
Yeah, so Edison was
really
playing
good.
Ash, and Pelican was playing Tracer / Echo.
Yeah, okay. I'm interested to see where they go. I have a lot of their merch, so it's not like they're going to be completely out of my mind. One thing you'll learn about me is I don't bog myself down with one team too much. That goes true for pretty much anything but baseball and hockey. I just don't have one single team. Just right now, the most exciting team to me is the Dallas Fuel, so that's why I'm mostly supporting them this season. Could change next season. Could change halfway through the season. I don't really care. If
Dallas fails to live up to expectations yet again,
like they usually do.
He'll be a shock fan for the next season when they win again for the third time.
Oh God.
I've always been a shock fan. So, anyway, next team.
Not
Boston Uprising. All right.
Here we go again.
Now, here's my thoughts on the Boston Uprising. I think they're terrible, and they've always been terrible. I think their org is really bad at picking up really good players and then selling them off to the highest bidder, and then just putting in a subpar team. It happened in the first season. They seemed to be like they were doing good. I feel like the whole Dreamcasper incident. I feel like after that, they kind of defined themselves as an org and just started selling off their best players because they didn't really want to be part of the league anymore. And so they just started putting in subpar teams and selling Fusion's jerseys, essentially. Like, that's it.
It's just a cash grab, essentially, is what you're saying.
They became Team Fusion. I'm afraid it's going to happen with Myungbong. I'm afraid that he's going to get burnt out, losing so much, and then he's not going to be good when he is insanely crazy. He's a great off healer.
Yeah.
He's insane. I don't like them personally. I think they're an overhyped team every season, and every season they fail to live up to anybody's expectations.
Well, it's funny because I think that me and you are on the same page of just kind of just hating all Boston sports teams. Regardless.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll get into that when we talk about the Shock. But so yeah, I don't. And so that's I just don't like Boston. Never have, even when they were good.
Oh, when they won that one stage?
Yeah, that one stage. Even when they were good, I didn't like them. And it just, Anyway, so anybody else's thoughts on Boston? Anybody like them?
No.
I think they have potential. I mean, I'm going to say that they do. I think when your whole idea of getting rid of players at a high cost to make more money, you can look more towards the Vancouver Titans But honestly, I think Boston has some things to prove, and I think they can do well next season.
About Vancouver, though, that wasn't necessarily just a cash grab. That was internal problems with their management.
We'll definitely talk.
Yeah.
We'll definitely
Yeah,
talk
we'll
about
talk
that.
about
We'll
that. Yeah,
definitely talk about that one.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's see. They announced that Halo and Mickey departed. Halo was an okay main support. I don't think he played too much, or maybe he played all the time and he just wasn't that good. None of these people are that good. They announced the departure of Jerry. Jerry was probably their biggest player besides Myungbong. Jerry was probably, I mean, there was probably their biggest player, like the biggest name on their team. Myungbong's great. Myungbong's one of the best in the league, but he's just not as big as Jerry. Like, Jerry always pops off.
Oh, yeah, and just always the reactions from the casters. Jerry!
Yeah, exactly. It's like Pine. It's like Pine almost.
Big
but,
Boss Pine.
Yeah. Rip. And then they announced the departure of Axiom, who was just a subpar main tank. I mean, if you don't get played over Fusions, who is like the subbest of pars, then obviously he's not very good. I don't like Fusions. I just don't. I think he's super overhyped. Let's see. And then next we got a couple of signings. Anybody want to say anything about the departures?
I mean,
Not really. Yeah.
not really. I mean, I'm sad to see Jerry go off of that team. But then again, that was their shining star, on the DPS role. But I mean, I'm happy to see him get out of Uprising jail.
Yep. Exactly. Okay, so a couple of signings. We got I'm 37 and Stand 1. So I'm 37 had the fastest run through Contenders, and he went straight to the Overwatch. It was like one game in Contenders and then right to the Overwatch League on Toronto. Now he was serviceable, but nowhere near the level of a couple. I think I just think they didn't have anybody at the time, and they just threw him in just because they needed somebody.
Yeah, because I mean, once Toronto got Logix,
yeah,
that's when they sent I'm 37 back down.
Exactly.
I will say about I'm 37 though, I still love that clip of because everybody thought that he only spoke Korean.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
That was a great clip.
So like they have the guy like speaking in Korean, and he was gonna like translate what he says, and then he like takes the mic and he's just full on English. It was awesome.
Yeah, that was a great clip.
Yeah.
I mean, Overwatch League, that was just A1. So they're good for the team, and then Stand 1's definitely playing over. I think that he was the backup main tank for Shanghai.
Yeah, he was.
I think he's definitely playing over Fusions.
You said that he got signed, right?
Yeah, he got signed.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Stand 1 is good signing.
Yeah, it's a
Stand
good
1 is
signing.
Huge improvement for them. It's huge.
What I'm afraid of, and you'll find this for a lot of what I think of Overwatch, is I'm more into the players and less than the org they're a part of. What I hope is just Stand 1 gets play over Fusions, but what I'm afraid of is Boston's going to
Flip him and sell him.
either flip him and sell him or play Fusions over him. Oh yeah, it's just going to be a hard time to see that. Like,
it's going to be interesting because Stand 1 is definitely the better player out of the two.
Yeah. I mean, Stand 1 played in the finals against all the last three teams, and
Oh yeah.
did a
Yeah,
really
the
good
best
job.
teams. The best teams, yeah.
Yeah, the best teams. Yeah, I think with that potential, he'll definitely have a starting for a Boston Uprising team that went negative. I mean, that went below 500 in last season.
Yeah. I think he's talking about win to loss percentage.
Oh yeah.
And then the last one, I know somebody here wants to get it skipped, but
Do we have to talk about it?
we do have to talk about it. So the last signing
you
for
talk about
Boston
mine.
Uprising, the last signing for Boston Uprising was on December 15th. Terrence Soon Tarlier. We're gonna defer this to Sideways.
So let me tell you guys a story. Back before Overwatch League was a thing, and I was a Tracer main before Brig came out, I was always trying to find like the best player at that role, and at the time, it was Soon when he was playing on Misfits and Rogue back in Apex, and they were winning non-stop championships in the dive meta. And after he transferred over to the Overwatch League, that's why I was a Valiant fan over the Glads, because Soon was my favorite player. Still is arguably my favorite player, but now I watch people like, Birdring
Birdring and
Lads.
yeah.
But anyway, Soon has always been an inspiration to me as a player. And that's why I followed him to Paris and supported them through their run. And I was excited to see all the new players they got and what they did in the Summer Showdown. But we'll talk about Paris in a little bit. Now it just sucks to see one of my favorite players getting sent to the lowest of the low.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Boston
Last can
place.
do good.
Yeah, exactly. Last place and last. Hopefully,
It's why I have
of course,
players.
besides fusions, of course, I want to see the rest of the team succeed.
Oh yeah.
Especially Myeongbong, especially Stand One. So here's to hoping that the players have a good time next season, even if they are not on a terrible
And
team.
even if Soon is on Boston, at least he got signed by somebody.
Yeah,
'Cause
exactly.
There was a minute there where I thought that his career was just going to end.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's such an old player. Like, I'm not saying he's an old player. He's an old person. He's like 26, 25 or 26. It's not like he's old. This is what we talked about, right? Like, they definitely needed some sort of like experienced
They needed a veteran.
who's been on a top team, and he's been on a top team twice. Okay, Fusions is a really good leader.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, as much as I hate the guy, he's a really good leader. Okay, but he doesn't have the experience to be on a top team. You know, they hopefully they signed to Coach Laurie. Hopefully he can do something with them. Again, I always want players to succeed no matter what team they're on.
Yeah.
There's not too many that I demonize.
If players succeed, then esports stays alive.
Exactly, that's what I want to see. Okay, so that's my thoughts on Boston Uprising. I think you got all yours out.
Yep.
How about you?
Like I said, I think they have potential. Stand One Soon, everything. Like, I understand the hatred towards the organization when it comes to the players and the doing for the money, but I still think that they have the potential to come back and become one of the better teams of the whole entire league.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be nice to see.
Yeah.
It would.
Eliminate the stigma.
So
Exactly.
next is my favorite team. It is the Dallas Fuel. On October 1st, they announced the departure of Coach Voljan, which was fine. I think at the end of the season, we kind of saw a breakdown, like they always have at the end of seasons, of just the org in general. Like, I don't know what goes on with the Dallas towards the end of a season, but they just have a breakdown, which is fine. I think they're bringing it together, but let's see. A lot of departures. On October 17th, they announced the departure of...
You don't need to name everybody off by name. Just say they dropped everybody except Doha.
Yeah, there you go. Notable ones were AKM and Unco. Closer was always pretty good. Everybody else was a little bit subpar.
Washed.
Yeah, washed. Unco and AKM were washed. They were notable though because
They played with Soon back in the Rogue dive meta before.
Yeah, they played
Overwatch
with
League.
Soon.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. And so it's interesting to see like them getting rid of old players who just aren't good. Gamsu left now. He actually announced retirement, which in my opinion, Gamsu was a really good tank, and he was a really good leader. He wasn't a great tank, but he was really good. He was like, between A and S tier, he was like an A tier, but he was always a good leader, great personality.
Yeah.
That's a sad one. That's about it. And then in October, they traded Paris for
This
Hanbin,
is where I start crying.
Hanbin, Sparkle, and head coach Rush. Okay, so we're seeing now a complete. They're bringing together the old team.
Element Mystic.
Element Mystic, and they were like what second in the
In contenders?
in contenders.
I thought they were first.
Were
I think
they?
they beat Runaway.
Did they beat Runaway?
I thought that they beat Runaway. I could be
Interesting.
wrong though. If I'm getting fact checked, then
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like, it's just a really good team. So we're seeing the beginnings of like in October. We're seeing the beginnings. We know what's going to happen. We know who they're going to bring in, but we're seeing the beginnings of a power team getting put together. Okay, a team. So this is akin to the Vancouver signing in season 2.
Well, yeah, because when they came in, it was literally just the Runaway roster.
Yeah, that's it. Runaway, and that's it, right? And they dominated. Arguably better than, he's not going to like this, but arguably better than Shock at at Goats.
They were better than Shock at Goats.
Yeah,
That's just how it is.
It's arguable because they're 1-1 in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Shock had a rocky start.
Well, and then also when Roll Q came along, that's when Shock just kind of tracked.
Yeah, well, they had. We'll talk about Shock. Don't worry. But yeah, all right, so we're seeing another power team get put together right now, and a contenders team get put together right now. So we're thinking that, and then a couple of other moves. They sign Fielder and Repel. Okay.
Element Mystic, guys.
Yeah.
What do you know?
Exactly, and I think Fielder playing on 200 ping, I think he was extremely overlooked.
Yeah, absolutely.
Overlooked.
I will say wholeheartedly, Fielder is the best off support in the league.
Yeah,
Hands down. That is my opinion, but
the fact that he made all those plays on 200 ping in the
especially
middle of
playing
Korea.
Anna,
Yeah.
who is such a skill shot character where you need to be precise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I'm there's been a couple of talks of them maybe going to APAC, Asian Pacific. And I would love to see that because if they set up base in Asian Pacific and Fielder gets to play on regular
no
ping
on
yeah.
LAN.
I don't know if they play on
Oh,
LAN.
yeah, because they're doing still their set.
Yeah.
But I mean, like for us, 30 ping.
Yeah,
instead
exactly.
of 200,
something like that. And it's just so interesting. I would love to see that. Now we were talking about a long time ago that if they end up doing that, they might have to play him a lot in scrims because they need to get him used to regular ping again.
Well, I mean, who else does Dallas have for off support?
Repel, right?
No, Repel's main support.
No,
I thought it was. Was Jexay main support?
I
think they signed Jexay and Repel, did they?
I think Repel is the off support and Jexay is the main support.
Yeah, the only way I can see them playing Repel over Fielder is because they know that Repel and Jexay have played together on the Outlaws.
Yeah.
And
have better synergy that, better teammates. So, and then that kind of they signed Jexay, they signed Fearless from the Shanghai Dragons, which good pickup for a main tank.
Also Element Mystic.
Good pickup for a main tank. Probably pairs perfect with Hanbin, who's definitely an S tier off tank. Maybe not the best, but definitely one of the best.
Hanbin had so many clutch plays last season.
Yeah, and then I think the biggest one was Exy, because it didn't happen. I think it's the biggest one, even though we knew it was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the biggest one because, let's see, they got Hanbin, Sparkle, and Rush on the 23rd. They got Fielder on the 27th. This is all of October. And then those are all Paris fans, or Paris players / coaches. I think the most interesting reason, or the interesting thing, is that they didn't get XD till November 14th.
Well, it was also really funny, or I wouldn't say funny, but we got debated.
Yeah.
Because I think that Exy had said that he wanted to stay on Paris for another season, or he was going to stay. So. Yeah,
exactly. I just think it was interesting how far apart those are. I think Paris was just playing mind games or money games with Dallas, which would suck because I don't think that's how you should run your organization. But we'll talk more about Paris.
That's why you don't like Vancouver. I mean, that's why you don't like Boston.
Exactly. And we'll talk. We'll get into that. But we're seeing again probably the most exciting team. I really think you're hard pressed to say that they're not the most exciting team coming into this season. I just think you're hard pressed to say it's not. Like, no matter what fan, no matter who you fan for, I just feel like they're the most exciting.
No, they definitely are, and I'm gonna be also rooting for them. Not over the Glads, but like after supporting Paris last season and seeing all those guys play together, they're a really exciting team to watch, especially in the Summer Showdown.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really excited to see what kind. I've seen a lot of obviously Exy and Sparkle playing. I'm really curious of when they're going to put Doha in.
Doha's going to be an interesting one. I feel like they just kept Doha.
He is an Element Mystic guy.
Yeah,
maybe that's the reason why they kept him.
reason why. Yeah, I don't feel like Doha did any better than Sparkle or Xe.
Well, look at it this way. I mean,
Sparkle being is huge.
well, yeah. Well, let's. Okay, Sparkle's got God tier Genji, God tier Doomfist.
Yeah.
What else has he got? I know
He's
he
got
was
a good
trying to play
Mei.
Sombra.
Yeah, he's got a good Mei. He's got a good Sombra. That might be the only reason. Maybe a Sombra if they want to play Sombra hit scan.
Well, because you know Xyz is going to always be on that Ashe, always on that McCree, always
the
on that
Widow. Yeah. So they might have him in as a specialist.
Does Doha play Tracer?
Doha might play Tracer, but I think Sparkle has a really good Tracer.
His Tracer is not as good as you would expect.
Okay.
At least from what I've seen. But then, obviously, on Paris, they had Soon, who was the Tracer specialist.
Yeah, exactly.
Tracer Widow.
I'm just saying, I feel like no matter who you're fanboying, no matter how much you hate Dallas, no matter how much you hate Element Mystic, it's just really exciting. We're seeing Vancouver 2.0 here. We're just seeing a whole different level of play right now. Whole different level of trading, everything. So that's the Dallas Fuel. On to the next team. We got the Florida Mayhem. Okay, my beginning thoughts. I'm actually, some people might find this, some people might not agree with me, but I find it interesting and exciting the fact that they go from, second worst, which in and of itself is also funny, to one of the best. Not the best for obvious reasons. But nobody really roots for the second underdog. They only really root for the underdog, like when Shanghai went 40-0.
0-40.
0-40, yes. Oh my God. I feel like that meteoric rise from 0-40 to number one in the whole entire league. Okay, now we're not talking.
We're not talking about the championship.
The championship
or anything, just pure standings.
Yeah, pure standings. They went from zero, from bottom to top. Okay, I think that's a meteoric rise. Everybody can get behind that. They love that story. Now I feel like the story that's less looked upon is the team that could beat them but couldn't beat anybody else. I'm sure they got a couple of wins here or there, but in season 1 they were almost full European team.
Yeah, they were.
I think they had Saya player, but they didn't play him.
Yeah, mostly it was Tavik and
Logix.
Yeah, Logix was on that team.
Yeah, nobody likes them. Nobody likes the person. One of the funniest things that I heard from an English professor one time was, what's funnier, the smallest? What's funnier than the smallest post office? The second smallest post office. Because it's just ironic and kind of tragic.
Yeah.
Like, you can't be the smallest. But, and that's just like, they're the second smallest they were the second smallest post office. And even going into season 2, they were kind of like that. But then you see them start building the team, and then all of a sudden they're, like, I remember watching them in season 3 and going, God, this team, I still hate this team. I hate Florida. I hate them. This is terrible.
But they're good.
But
season 3 they were really good in season 3. It just was in the
exactly
tournament against the Shock. That's when it all changed for them.
Yeah, and my thing was, like, I was still looking at them through the eyes of second worst.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, oh, I hate that they're winning. This is stupid. Why are they winning? They don't deserve it. But in reality, like, if you're gonna build a team, if you're gonna build such a strong core, they absolutely deserve those wins.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Well, especially with their roster, Yaki, BQB, Fate, who's on a different team now. We'll get to that. Gargoyle, and then who are their supports? I keep forgetting.
It wasn't Gangan.
Chris,
and anyway, we'll get to that.
I'm like blanking out here. Let's move on.
and so that's my thoughts on the team. Do you have anything you want to add?
Yaki's a nutty tracer.
Yaki's a great tracer, and BQB's a good Sombra.
Was also a really good Ashe.
He was a really good Ashe. How about you?
I was going to say that same thing. Well, I mean, of course, you get the Ashe main talking about Ashe for it.
All the time, dude.
Yeah, but BQB, that man is unstoppable, and I will say his Ashe is probably one of the best in the league. Mm-hmm. We'll compare it to other people, but we'll move on to that later. But, yeah, I mean, like I said, they had potential, and I thought they were going to be a really good team, but then, I think after the May Melee tournament against Shock, where they lost to them, it was kind of a huge breakdown for them, and kind of toward maybe like tore their enthusiasm, I guess, a little bit. But I think they have potential to become like a very rising star again when season 4 happens.
Well, yeah, and we'll see how it goes. It's also got to look at it objectively. It is a good improvement from where they were last season, or not last season, the season before that, rather.
Season 2 and Season 1.
Yeah, so you want to talk about their departures and signings?
So we got
some downgrades to talk about.
We have a departure of Saya player Karayan, Chris, and Byram.
That's right, Byram was one of the support players. He was their main support.
One of them. It doesn't.
I know he played a lot of Baptiste.
In my opinion, it doesn't really matter. Their supports weren't their shining stars.
Yeah.
It was mostly one or
Yaki
maybe
and
both
BQB.
of their tanks, and then Yaki and BQB exactly. Saya player was interesting.
He never really played.
He never really played, but he's like on the level of Pine. Very rarely did you see him, but when you saw him, man, you
knew
saw
he was gonna
him.
pop off. Yeah.
Yeah, like just crazy. And then, yes, and I don't even remember what Karayan played, so who cares?
Fair enough.
Then we have a trade with Shanghai for Fate. Fate is so good.
I feel like he's really overlooked too.
No, I don't think he's overlooked. I think he gets his fair shake. I don't think he's as good as some of the tanks, the gnarly tanks, but he's such a good leader, especially for a full Korean team.
And
he's a
them
great
losing stand 1. He can be put in replacement, and he can be that go getter for them.
Well,
I think on Shanghai he's good.
It's also a really funny situation because both the Shanghai Dragons and the Florida Mayhem were downgraded in tanks.
Yeah.
Fate going to Shanghai, I don't think Fate's as good as Fearless. And now we're going to talk about it, but OG going to Florida, I don't think he's as good as Fate.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's just an interesting situation all around.
And also, Kuki's losing his main tank. They re-signed him. Kuki was with Fate on Valiant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're losing Fate, so Kuki's going to be missing one of his key players. I mean, that's probably the reason he went to Florida in the first place, was because Kuki and Fate have such a good rapport, and they're so good together.
But it's also really interesting because Coach Moon is on Shanghai.
Interesting.
Yeah, and Coach Moon coached the Season 1 LA Valiant with Fate.
Which was arguably their best team.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There's an argument there, but arguably their best team.
Well, yeah, I think that this year's Valiant was really good. They definitely...
Yeah. And then we have a signing of OG, Slime, Checkmate, BQB. They re-signed BQB and they re-signed Gargoyle.
No-brainer.
Let's in that order. So OG, let's all give our opinions with our thumbs, okay? OG?
Like, diagonal.
You think, okay?
Thumbs up.
Interesting. Okay, Slime?
Thumbs up. Oh, so...
Yep, Checkmate?
I haven't seen too much of him, so...
Me either. And then re-signing BQB and Gargoyle.
Oh, of course. Double thumbs up for that one, yeah.
It
was sideways.
Exactly. So with OG, I love OG, don't get me wrong. I love OG. He has a great personality. He's a very interesting play style where he plays extremely aggressive and doesn't always get it done because I just think he plays too aggressive. But that play style, now don't get me wrong. What we're trying, a big thing we're trying to do on this show is to bring attention to the Overwatch League, and that's why losing players like Pine, losing players like Saya player, is actually really bad. Because what we want to see in the Overwatch League to build and grow as a league, grow their viewership and stuff. What we want to see is big plays, big personalities. And let's include Dogman in it for that case. Big plays, big personalities, and exciting moments. I think, and we'll talk about him later on, but OG and Cloudy, when they were both on the Gladiators, created big moments and big plays, even if they weren't great. But it's just very interesting.
You remembered them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think OG going on to a different team, hopefully he creates big plays and he can continue to be a big personality. But I just don't think he's as good as Fate. And I think it's a major downgrade. Hopefully they can pick somebody up by the end of the season to kind of play with him. I think the Gladiators made a big mistake picking Cloudy to do that because they're both very aggressive. And you know what would have been interesting is to play Cloudy and OG at the same time. I know they have space, but I think it would have been very aggressive. A double dive?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
I don't want to think about that.
Anyway, anybody else? I know you said you liked him. Sup, bud? What are you going on?
I don't know. I mean, I was gonna say yeah because he comes from a team that had a full turnaround. Something who you have one of the best records in the whole entire league. I mean, granted, you can't base a team off of one individual personality and player, but if you're a good enough player and you can turn around an 0-40 team from 2 seasons ago to one that was best, and not alone only the APAC, but also the whole entire league, I think coming from that team like Stan 1, OG, all of them, I think they can definitely make a team a better one.
What team do you think the OG came from?
I thought it was coming from Shanghai.
OG did not come from Shanghai. He came from
That's
Gladiators.
where he come from.
Gladiators.
The Gladiators. Oh, I thought he was coming from Shanghai.
You must be thinking of a different player. That's okay.
I must be thinking of a different player. Fuck.
Keep it straight.
Well, I'll exit off now.
It's that one beer. It's getting to your head.
We're gonna have to.
That's okay.
We're gonna have to
and like I said, we haven't seen too much Checkmate. I haven't seen anything of Checkmate personally. But hopefully,
I think he played a little bit in the winter ball, but I don't remember anything.
Yeah, a lot of these teams, like when it happened with Paintbrush on the Gladiators. A lot of these teams pick them up for not replacements, but just backups, just in case.
Mm-hmm.
And he's probably just one of those.
I'm trying to remember what role Checkmate played. I don't remember if he was DPS or if he was support. Because I want to say he was playing Brig, but I could be totally wrong.
We'll see. It's not a big deal. And then the re-signing of BQB on point.
Yeah.
Nothing really to add. Then that's just great. And Gargoyle, he's a really good. Like I found myself looking at him a lot of the time, like, oh shit, Gargoyle just put in like a really big play.
Mm-hmm.
Like even though he wasn't like the star player, I felt like he was doing pretty good.
Really consistent.
Yeah, really very consistent. Anything else about the Florida Mayhem?
I don't think so.
No? Hey, what about you?
No, I think it's all set.
All right.
I just think that potential is going to be a good runner for it. But we'll have to see.
Yep, we'll have to see. All right, our next team is a very it's a very interesting team. Not as interesting as Dallas, but from the same region. They've always been up and down, but mostly down. They've always been looked upon as one of the most exciting teams, one of the biggest teams, but they've never really gone anywhere. Next team is the Houston Outlaws.
Rip Muma.
Rip Muma. Muma's not very good. That's all we have to say. I mean, when you play an off or a projectile DPS player
as a main tank over Muma.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta. There's something a little off there. I don't know. I've never really liked them too much. The only thing I really liked about them was their logo. Even their colors were kind of weird, and I'm a big colors guy.
Have you never been a fan when they had Jake?
Jake was good.
Jake Rat.
Yeah,
Jake was
Rat,
good,
yeah,
but Jake was
Dude, he was considered like one of the best Junkrats in the whole entire league.
Yeah, but they never played Junkrat. You got to remember that.
Yeah.
You got to remember that Junkrat was never really played. Okay, so here's a big thing. There's a difference between popular players and good players. Okay?
Ooh.
Pine was a popular player, and he was a good player, but he wasn't a great player. He's not as consistent as Ons. He's not as consistent as BQB.
Or even compare him to people who are on that team.
Exactly. He's not as
Sabiolbi.
consistent as SPB, as Sabiolbi. He's not as consistent as like somebody like Libero or Onimo. Like he was a big personality and he could pop off. Jake was the same way. Jake's a big person. Love Jake. Jake's a great personality. I think he does great at casting, but he's just not. He just wasn't as good as everybody said he was. There was always somebody better. Like Linkster's a really good Widow. Linkster's not a great Widow, but he's a pretty good Widow, right? But I don't know. But he was a big personality. He was known, and he was very popular. So we have to make that distinction between a popular player and a good player, because I feel like Ons isn't a very popular player, but he's probably the best Widow in the league right now. right?
We'll get into that. We'll get into that later when we talk about Shock.
The Shock, yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So anyway, they signed Coach Junkbuck. They announced General Manager Matt Lorio. They don't want to get rid of the guy. They just keep bringing him back. He can't leave. He won't die. Cool Matt forever. Okay? I praise that guy and his just drive, his grind, right? Like, this guy just... Anyway, they re-signed Dante.
Big signing.
For Dante,
Huge.
that sucks. For the Outlaws, it's a great signing. For Dante, it sucks. I think Dante was better suited on a team like the Shock, or better suited for a different team, a better team, probably the best.
Dallas.
Yeah, well,
Not
no,
necessarily.
not Dallas.
They got all their bases covered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Plus, putting Dante in a full Korean roster, I don't know.
Would just
how
be
that would
weird.
work, Yeah.
He probably the best Western DPS.
Arguable, yeah.
Arguably, but yeah, probably he's definitely at least at the very least up there. But putting him on the Outlaws, I don't know. Maybe with this new roster,
Should come to Glad's.
he should come to Glad's. For who though? For Birdring?
No, for Kevster. Well, no, because Kevster's really, really good too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like
It's
their
hard.
roster. Never mind. I don't want it to change.
It's hard because all our favorite teams, like we would love to have them on our favorite teams, but we all think that the roster we have is better, right? Like that's kind of Dante's biggest weakness is he belongs on a team like Houston Outlaws because everybody else is kind of better. Like we all think everybody else is kind of better. Like there's a couple of teams that he might fit better on. I don't know. I just think he's pretty good on the Outlaws right now.
Yeah.
I think he belongs there. It sucks for him because it's the Outlaws, but I think he belongs there. Next, they signed in Crimzo. Just one Texas team to another. I don't think he'll be as good as Rappel, but he's not bad either. He's middle of the pack. They signed Piggy and Jajangu. I don't know much about them. They both are they're Korean.
They played on the same Contenders team. I don't remember watching them, but I know that they came from the same team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably their biggest one. We'll say their last one. In December they signed Joby. It looks like he's not a Korean player, which is always interesting to see. I like all the Korean players, but it's very few and far between where you see people are signing from different Contenders regions. You know.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that people from different regions are getting picked up. And then probably their biggest pickup of the season after... Did they drop Linkser? Because he got traded to a different team, right?
I think they might have, yeah.
Anyway.
I don't remember where Linkser went.
Their biggest pickup probably of the offseason is KSF, coming from the Los Angeles Valiant. Big. I think him and Dante, they both have really great personalities. Dante, they both got real laid-back personalities, but they're both extremely funny. I mean, watching them on stream, watching them interact with different players, I just think they're going to bring a good energy to the game.
And I think they're going to have a lot of fun, too.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like this team is more of a for fun team.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to take anything too seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then with Hydration's a good player too, and a good teammate. So hopefully they'll do pretty good. That's all I got. Houston Outlaws is always going to be probably bottom of the pack, but they're always a fun team to watch.
Oh yeah.
They had Jake, they have Dante, they had Luma in his prime, they had Hydration, that whole thing. They were never good, but they were always fun to watch. Like you never turned off a Houston Outlaws game because it was terrible.
And who can forget the toilet bowl?
Exactly. Who was that against? It was
Boston.
Boston,
the
yep.
Outlaws.
Yeah.
Who ended up winning that one? I think it was Houston, right?
It was Houston. I think won.
Houston, because I think
Houston, I believe, yeah.
I think Boston really only dumpstered on Gladiators.
Wow.
No comment.
Anyway, there's definitely comments about that whole thing.
Wait, did they beat Glads or did they beat Paris.
No, they beat Glads because it was right after they picked up Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
No. It was right after they picked up they're off tank. The really good one, Punk. It was right after they picked up Punk, one, and I think it kind of rocketed them into that like push forward winning mentality, and then I just think the Glads were on already on a downhill like slope, and a big thing about the Glads that we'll get into
later
next.
Next.
A big thing about the Glads is when they're up, and when they're down, they're down. There's really no in between.
Very true.
And so I think that's why Boston went against them that one day. Like, you can't really blame it on either team. I think it's just something that happened.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that it happened to one of our favorite teams, his favorite team. But what else are you going to do, right? And then so any other comments on Houston Outlaws?
I think you said the whole thing. I think just Dante and KSF, that's going to be a huge thing for the DPS variety. And
yeah,
the amount of damage they're going to be doing with that.
I love them both as players, so I would love to see them
They
like...
both reached at the same time. That was cute. Cheers. Sponsored by Pepsi.
That's all we got in the
God.
house. Well, see, I got to talk, so I can't drink. I'd love to see the players succeed again. Like, I have more love for the players than the orgs, but if they don't succeed, they don't succeed, right?
Yeah.
So next, because it is his favorite team, we will have Sideways take over.
Don't say it,
The
Sideways.
funny thing is that you think I can read.
My mistake.
I can do it. You're forgetting that as a hit scan player, it's just point and shoot.
Point and shoot.
That's all I do.
Don't worry, we worked on this beforehand, so he's not really reading. He's just saying what he remembered.
Memory.
Okay?
Gladiators, good. Gladiators win LA Valiant Winter Ball. Good. Anyway, October 6th dropped a lot of people. They announced the departure of Jaru, Bishu, Shaz, and Big Goose. As far as Shaz and Big Goose go, it sucks as a Gladiators fan because those guys were paired from the beginning. But it was time for a change. Obviously, besides main tank, the support line was definitely one of the big issues with the team. And as far as Jaru, he didn't really play all too much behind Bergering, Kevster, and Mirror. So it was kind of expected. And Bishu, great off tank. However, when you have a guy like Space, you're not really going to play over that.
And to kind of comment on the Big Goose and Shaz drop off, it's kind of another great popular player versus good player, right? Yeah. Like, they were always popular. I mean, you got the Los Angeles Big Geese.
Yeah, you could always remember the memes with those guys.
Yeah, and everybody always commented on the fact that those two have always stuck together, right? But
yeah, it's the Finnish support duo.
Yeah, but the reality is, like, they just weren't great.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they were never, like, top tier. They're always middle of the pack. And then towards the end, they both retired. They both retired from Overwatch completely. Towards the end, you could just tell that they were dropping off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is sad, but at the same time, I think it's healthy for the team.
Yeah, because definitely when we're going to get into the signings here, we have a lot of exciting stuff. Okay, so they announced the departure of Coach Curry Shot. They announced departure of Cloudy, which... I mean, he didn't really play too much behind OG, and he was really aggressive.
Big player, big plays, but too aggressive.
Yeah. Announced departure of OG. We talked about that earlier. He went to Florida. Departure of Coach Faustus. Announced assistant coach departure Tidala. Now here's the hero signings. Player signings, rather. They picked up main tank Muse, who was the second best main tank coming out of contenders behind Mag.
Mag, yeah.
And Mag went to Toronto or to...
I believe so. No, Washington.
Washington.
And we'll talk about Washington because we're all really excited for Washington.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so announced Muse on main tank. Shu on off support. I'm going to save this one for last. Announced Skewed as another off support player. I've seen him play a little bit in the Winter Ball. He was actually looking pretty decent. But
Yeah.
I don't know how often he's going to play over Shu
Yeah.
or this next person we're going to talk about.
Don't say it.
Oh, you're ready for it, buddy.
God.
On November 12th, the Los Angeles Gladiators signed Grant Moth Espy.
Yes. Good. Great. Good. Just
Yeah.
beautiful pickup.
I will argue that that Gladiators just picked up the best Lucio and one of the best Mercies in the whole entire league. And
Definitely.
it's so frustrating to lose that type of player. And
I would say one of the only
understand.
ones that fight against him. I'm sorry, I just totally cut you off, but I feel like one of the only ones who can fight against him as one of the best Lucios. And no, it's not the guy that Shock picked up besides him, because of him. But
We'll
of
get
course
into
you
the
think
other
it is.
We'll get into the other ones.
I think Slime is probably one of the best. Probably one who can fight for the title of best Lucio with
I would
Moth.
wholeheartedly agree with you on that one. It's just, but when you got a great player that Moth can play with Lucio, Mercy, and then also Sideways doesn't like me saying this, but also someone who's amazing also at Brig, you have a very compatible player that can do a lot for you for healing. Otherwise, for faster plays, you have one that can advantage when it comes to hit scan with Moth and his Mercy, and then his Brig just on defense. It's just, I think he has the whole kit. What a huge healer can do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great pickup. I mean, to replace two of probably the most popular support players, to get two other hugely popular support players in Shu, and on the other hand too, is they're both popular, but they're also really good.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like Shu is on the charge. It was like Happy, Nero, and Shu. Those were the three biggest spots on the charge, right? And why you can't only have half the team popping off and win? Just a great, like, those were great. Three of the greatest on the team. And with Moth, he won twice, right? Like, they won twice. You can't argue that he's a good he's a good support, especially main support, which is usually overlooked.
Absolutely.
Right? Usually main supports are praised for their like Custa. He wasn't praised for his gameplay. He was praised more for his attitude and personality. That's the word I was looking for, right? But Moth, I mean, you just can't say that he was. Oh, he only had really a good personality.
Yeah, because his personality is there, but also the gameplay is off the charts.
Personality, he's a bit low key, but that's okay. Like, that's who you needed on the Shock. His personality on the Shock, it was so like him and Super had a really good rapport because Super was a huge personality and Moth was just like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Like, he was just, you know what I mean? And it'll work.
You saw that face when they lost to the Rain in the second.
The C9.
Yeah,
go into
and and that's the thing is he's also very he's very passionate about the game too. Like, you can just see it in the way he talks about the game and the way he plays the game. I mean, he's got not a very explosive personality, but a big personality. Just a laid back personality though. Right?
And I feel like it's good going back into what you said earlier, like just now about having people who are passionate about the game. It's good to have those people on your team because then you're minimizing the chances of people who are just kind of feeling burnt out and whatever, you know what I mean?
Well, and the big one, probably the biggest problem with, and it's kind of there's two big problems with the Gladiators. One of them is Space and Bird Ring, probably their best players on the team last season. You kind of saw them go. Every time they lost, they took losses really hard.
They did.
And they would stop playing. And another that's a problem in and of itself because if you have your star players just off the whole game because they lost one fight or they lost a game last week or whatever, it kind of ruins the rest of the team and ruins the season, right? Because then they're just going to keep losing. That's why when we saw them on, they were on, And when they were off, they were off. I think I said that earlier, right?
Yeah, you absolutely did. And it's going to be really, really good going into this season. I feel like the Glads are going to have a strong start just because they're coming off of a high already from winning the Winter Ball. Granted, it was only 4 teams participating, but they had a really, really good showing. I mean, with a starting lineup of Birdring, Kevster, Muse, Space, Shu, and Moth, it was,
and
really fun to watch.
Exactly. And I probably one of their biggest problems that was last season, and I think it carries over to this season, is finding their leader. Okay? Birdring, very laid-back person. And he's one of those people, again, who when they're losing, they're losing. But when they're winning, right? But you can't have that as a leader. I think last season they had OG probably as their leader. Because he was always a happy and upbeat person, but obviously it just wasn't working.
Yeah.
This season, does anybody have a leader in mind?
I mean, maybe Moth could step in.
That's what I was thinking, but he's going to be a very laid-back personality. Maybe it'll mesh well.
I was going to say the same thing on Shock. Yeah, he was the exact same way.
Yeah, he wasn't the super leader. Well, maybe he was. Anyway, we'll see. I have very high hopes for the Gladiators. Again, as an LA person, they're still one of my favorite teams. They always have been. Again, you'll find that I have a lot of favorite teams. But it's kind of like, I want to see them win. I would love to see them win. Not over Dallas, but I would love to see them win. The way I put it before is like, with the Gladiators at the very least, as long as they're not going up against Dallas, I'm probably rooting for them. Right? Like, as long as it's not going up against my team, they're probably, I want them to win.
And that's probably how I feel about your team as well.
Exactly.
Not the Shock. I hate the Shock. Anyway.
As long as you treat Moth right, maybe I'll be happy to see them do well.
Oh, yeah, and as a former Paris fan as well, I'd love to see you take care of FD God.
And we'll talk about that.
Our FD God will be the best.
Oh, yeah.
Next is the next LA team. We have the Valiant. Again, and they were our favorite team when they had Soon. I kind of followed him. I'm not going to lie. I was mostly a Valiant fan because he was a Valiant fan, which before the Overwatch League, I wasn't really into sports. They just weren't my thing. I didn't like to sit there and watch them. Once I started watching Overwatch League, and this is why I want to keep it I want to keep the Overwatch League going, and that's one of my missions, especially with this show. Overwatch League led me into different sports. And now I can talk about big signings like Moth to the Gladiators. I can compare that to Mookie Betts coming from Boston to LA, right? That's why I can equate those things, is because of the Overwatch League and getting me into different sports. Where was I going with? Oh, yeah, so I don't really have, LA Valiant were our team at first. Once they lost all their good players.
Or their core, rather.
Their core, yeah. Once they lost their core, it just kind of dissipated. There wasn't much left.
Well, because look at it this way. We like the Valiant for Soon, Space.
Exactly.
I mean, arguably, like, Agilities, Custa, Kariv. Yeah.
And, once they lost him, he moved to siding with Paris because of Soon, and with Gladiators because they're the other LA team, and he likes to keep it LA.
And they signed Space.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
And I moved to Atlanta Reign because of Dafran and then Dogman. But anyway, Los Angeles Valiant, they were looking better towards the end of last season. Weren't looking great, but they were looking better. So I'm always excited to see what LA Valiant can do because they kind of put together a real, just put together team, and they weren't doing terrible.
Nobody expected anything of them, and they had a really, really good showing.
Yeah, good for what level they're at.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like especially with I just want to say the MVP of that team is KSP.
Yeah, KSP. Yeah.
As an Ash main, I completely am in awe of what that man can do. He's on the top of the stats for everything. And he definitely had a lot of hard carry team fight wins and stuff like that. So the clutch factor is there. The star power is there. He's going to be a big name that people are looking after Who knows? Some people might be like willing to dish out some cash for that guy.
Exactly. He's going to be a big one. So they announced the departure of Apply, Gig, and McGravy. Apply and Gig can go. I thought Gig was kind of cool. He was kind of like we called him a Chad because he played football and he was like the second best looking person in the Overwatch League.
I don't know about that.
I think it went Ben Best and then him.
I don't know about Gig.
Gig was, I don't know.
Well, you want to talk space, dude?
Space looks like Mowgli.
Jungle Book.
And then I think getting rid of McGravy wasn't it. I think McGravy was their most popular player with the Diva cosplay, and he was a really good, consistent player.
Yeah, that's fair.
I just don't like the getting rid of Gig. Like, I don't like that at all.
I thought you said Gig was fine.
Or not Gig, McGravy.
Yeah. But they got Adam to replace him. So
yeah.
that's going to be exciting to watch.
They announced the departure of KSF.
Who went to Houston.
He went to Houston.
It's
sad. It's sad, but we see a return of the King. A return to his old team. In different colors this time. But we see the signing of Agilities and Adam, right? So Agilities comes back in KS. Okay, so to start this off, I think KSF was mainly a hit scan player who got relegated to
Flex
DPS.
Yeah, because I mean, with a hit scan player like KSP, how are you going to compete with that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like KSP overshadows KSF by a lot, right? At least just in that little area of expertise. So I think the signing of Agilities over KSF, getting rid of KSF and bringing in Agilities, even though Agilities might be a bit washed, I just think it's a better signing overall.
It's good to see that the OG Valiant fans are going to have one of their old players back.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he was a fan favorite.
Yeah, exactly. And Valiant probably has the biggest fan base. If not Valiant, then Shock, but at least in Season 1 and 2, they had probably the biggest fan base.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. When we would go to Blizzard Arena all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't argue that because we went to the Blizzard Arena, and because the Blizzard Arena was in LA, all you saw was LA fans. Obviously, right? But I don't know. They probably had the biggest.
Remember when we went there for the first time?
I think Shock's fans are best in the world, but
no. Actually, no. Paris fans are best in the world. European fans are crazy. What were you saying?
The first time that we went to Blizzard Arena, and we went to go watch the Valiant play, was it the Dragons? But I wore my Rogue Soon jersey.
Yeah.
And somebody one of the casters made a comment about it.
Yeah.
We got some longtime Soon fans here. I see a Rogue jersey out there. I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. That was back when I was really heavy, but so Los Angeles Valiant, I'm excited to see him. I haven't seen too much of Adam, but apparently he's pretty good. Mm-hmm. I'm always excited to see not so great teams become better.
I don't like their colors.
You don't like blue and yellow?
Not that shade of blue.
Oh, I think they look sick. I
like
Valiant
that shade of
one of
It
the
reminds me of Legos.
That's okay.
Legos are the best.
I love
Legos are fun,
Legos.
but I don't want to think about Legos when I'm watching Overwatch League.
Anyway, let's see. So we're going on to New York Excelsior. Haksal announced retirement. They announced the departure of Nene. Who Are You? Hatba, Bianca, and Mandu. We were talking about it before, not in this podcast, or not in this episode, but previously. We were talking about it before. They want to...
They're just building a team around Jonak.
Yeah, essentially. They're building an aggressive team. I really thought...
and the funny thing is... sorry, Brain, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to say, too, that they had expectations. They were said to have won the whole entire thing in Season 3.
I don't remember hearing that. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I don't remember that either.
I heard they were supposed to go far in Season 3. They were supposed to be, one of the best teams.
Yeah, well, okay, I heard that, but I don't know about... anyway... the thing, a big New York curse is that they're always overhyped, and they always 90% live up to that hype. They can never, ever, ever push out that last 10%. They never win anything. They never win the most important matches. They just fall apart in that last 10%. Whatever that 10% may be, right?
Well, it was funny because especially back when the New York Excelsior were playing in the NA region, the Atlanta Reign wiped the floor with them every single time.
Twice.
Oh,
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, they announced the departure of Libero, Animo, and Sabiolbi. My personal thoughts on that is it's very sad. Those are OG players. They've been playing for flipping ever. And they are still great, and that's the worst part.
And it sucks to see as a New York fan, or I'm not personally, but for New York fans out there, it's really sad to see Sabiolbi go because that guy was the heart and soul of the team.
Yeah.
But he is now going to be the soul of soul.
The heart and soul, he meant to say of soul. Yeah, and we'll talk about that a little bit, but a little bit later. They traded Mono to Philadelphia. Again, all we're seeing is they're gonna start building a more aggressive team. Have they done any pickups yet? I don't think they have any pickups. I haven't heard anything.
I haven't heard anything either.
No. So, but we're just gonna see a whole different play style from them. They're just dropping all their players except for Jonak, just to show, like, hey, look, we're gonna look different this year. Because probably the biggest strength and arguably their biggest weakness was their passive play style. And while the passive play style works, especially against teams who are very over aggressive, it doesn't stay consistent.
Yeah.
Right, because sorry about that. If a team knows how to work against their use it against them, then they're gonna get wiped. I mean, Atlanta used it against them. They were aggressive, but they weren't over aggressive, and they were aggressive in the right places. And that just lost. They fell apart both times. They couldn't figure it out. And I like New York. Never a big fan. Never wanted to see them win. Still don't want to see them win. But I've always liked the players, right? And that's why losing players like Hawksall, losing players like Who Are You, Nene, who was supposed to be one of the biggest of that season 2, I believe, right? They had Flower at one point.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of ruin good players. Like, they ruin big pickups all the time. But they just kind of, I don't know. While New York has always been a good team, they've just always been
They could never seem to execute.
Yeah, exactly. Get it? Excelsior, execute.
Jesus. Oh, God.
Just because they both start with EX.
Shut up.
Sideways, you made one too.
Yeah, exactly.
What, a pun? Yeah, but mine at least made sense.
Anyway, so I don't know. I always wanted the players to succeed, except for Jonak. He's just too good for the league. He's crazy. There's players who are...
His Zenyatta is something you'll never see in another player.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of get turned off of players who are super overhyped and then also live up to the hype. Because when it's just oh, he's so great, he's so great, he's so great, and then he just shows us that he dominates. It just gets kind of boring and repetitive.
You know what's going to happen. There's no surprise.
Yeah, exactly. Carpe is he's a great player. I can say that for sure. He has great showings, and some of his showings are super hype, super fun to watch. But I've never really liked him as a player because he's an overhyped player who does extremely well. And it's just boring to watch. I don't know. It's sad to see all these players go. We'll learn later that 2 of them got picked up. I've always liked Hotba. It's sad to see Hotba go. Who Are You is whatever. I don't know. I'm excited to see where this team goes, though. They were so bad in Season 3 that I want to see them succeed again because they were really good in Season 1.
Yeah.
And I liked them in Season 1, and they were serviceable in Season 2. I like to watch them get smacked by the Atlanta Reign, but I don't know. Any other thoughts? on New
Not
York
really.
Excelsior.
I think everything was set on it.
Yeah. All right. On to the next one. We'll skip them. No, I'm just joking. Paris Eternal. Dead to me.
Dead to me.
Really dead to him. He's going to try to excuse them and say, oh, they just needed money, blah, 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 I get it. No, bullshit. Because if you get money for players, you're getting big money for players like Xe, Sparkle, for Fielder. You're getting huge money for them. And you're not putting in Hanbin. Yeah, I forgot about Hanbin. And you're not putting it back into the team. I think you're a waste of an organization. A waste.
Would you say your opinion's the same thing for that as what Boston Uprising would be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I didn't say waste of an organization, verbatim, but I think I gave the same sentiments.
Yeah.
You know, and it was really confusing to see like, oh, Xe wants to stay, and I said, and in my head I was like, for $10,000 a year, like I think that's the league minimum.
No, it's 50.
Is it 50?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not bad. I would play for that.
Well, first
Paris, sign me.
First thing you need to do is get out of plat.
Um,
Oh no, sorry, silver. My bad.
I'm not silver.
No,
I'm not silver in tank.
In tank.
tank.
Anyway, do you want to give your opinions?
Do I really?
I kind of overtook your opinion.
I mean, yeah. It's funny, like, talking about, like, Xe, like, when he said he was going to stay. Like, I remember, like, messaging you. I'm like, there's no freaking way he's staying.
No, I would
Absolutely not. Just with everything else that has gone on, I'm like, obviously, Dallas is putting together Element Mystic 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to go there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when it actually got announced, I sent you the post, and I was like, "Oh, surprise, surprise!" Yeah, Paris. It was really, really fun to watch them in the Summer Showdown, especially me supporting them after my then favorite player Soon was playing there and sucked on that team. Well, I wouldn't say that Soon sucked, but the team sucked for a season while they didn't have these Element Mystic players. But it was definitely fun watching that team have their awesome run back when Genji was meta for like a month.
Yeah.
They're the only team in the league to have beaten Philly and Shock. I will say that.
Yeah, exactly. They were a great team, and then with the next things that we'll talk about, they just kind of went from hero to zero.
Yeah.
And anything else you want to add, Sup, bud?
That's everything.
Exactly. So we'll announce the departures. The departures of Smex, never played. Fielder.
Oh, I'm sorry. There was another thing that I wanted to mention. As a former Paris fan, going back into it, it absolutely sucks because I have a signed Paris Eternal jersey.
Mm-hmm. Season 2 Paris.
Hey, it's still a signed Paris Eternal jersey. But now I don't want to support that team anymore. It's sad.
I'll buy it for $5.
5? Got a deal.
just get it out of your way.
So again, announced the departure of Specs. Never really played. Not really good. I don't care. Fielder, probably, arguably, the best off healer in the league.
I'll go out on a whim and say he is.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
it's
just me.
again
I think I
arguable
said
for
it
me,
earlier.
but yeah. And then No Smite, terrible tank. Sorry, No Smite. I don't know you as a person. I never really saw your face. But you can eat a dick because you are terrible.
Whoa.
Good lord. Whenever they put you over Ben Best, you guys lost the map.
Because they wanted to play dive, dude.
Doesn't matter if they want to play dive.
Hey,
Your dive tank's terrible.
I remember that one game where Paris played dive, and they played Ben Best on Winston over No Smite, and they won. And then after that, Ben Best put on his Instagram story is Winston main, by the way. I'm yeah, okay, dude.
Just made no sense when they played No Smite over Ben Best. I never understood it. They got rid of all their coaches. Hanbin, Sparkle, sent them to Dallas. Traded FD God to what team again?
Oh, the almost
Who
third
Cares?
time reigning champions.
Who cares?
Hey, the third time reigning champions is Shock next year.
Oh boy.
Next year. Oh, he's a future seer.
Watch out! It's a prophecy. Watch out!
No, dude, that's. I mean, we'll get into that with FD
Yeah.
and Shock, but I think that's just huge as a replacement for Moth going to the Glads.
Absolutely. They announced the departure of Ben Best, Chad Best, rip.
The most handsome man in the Overwatch League.
Very middle of a pack, but I feel like he fit the team really well.
Yeah, and it's really funny because me and Brainwashed always have this thing where we always say the more attractive you are as a player, the worse you are.
And he proved us wrong.
Yeah, Ben Best was actually pretty solid.
Yep.
You know, he fit the team really well.
He was fit the team really well. He was terrible in Season 2, but I feel like the team around him definitely didn't give him what he needed.
Well, yeah, they didn't have FD God and Fielder.
Exactly. So
they had Cruz and Gray.
Yeah, exactly. And Hip.
Yeah.
So, I love to see a zero to hero story. And that's what it was. I mean, even if he wasn't the best, he definitely brought the team up.
Ben, not so best.
Oh, yep, exactly. Stupid, I hate this. The departure of Soon, we talked about that. Nico, goodbye. You hype beast.
Dude, he was always blinged out, dude.
Yep.
He always had his ice on.
We got to meet him personally, and he's a lot shorter than I thought. So Soon. And he was very blinged out, yep. And Exy, departure of Exy. We talked about that. I don't really want to get into it. They lost their core of their team because they were greedy. They lost, no, not even the core of their team. They lost their entire team because they're greedy. Okay? That's just the reality of it. And we talked about how good the other players were. Talked about where they should go. And where they did go. Not much else to say. They signed Onigod. I'm just going to say the big names. Onigod, Neptuno, and Dalivote. Okay. They're all only playing for 50,000 a year, which is a lot, don't get me wrong. But they're not a great team. Onigod's not very good. He is a big name. That's the one I'm thinking of, right? He was one on Dallas.
Yeah.
Okay, actually, Onigod was extremely good. He was better than Doha. Onigod's a good pickup. That's their only good pickup. Neptuno was always just a personality on the Fusion. And a really weird pick for the Charge. And he didn't even get to play because of...
Visas, right?
Because of visa issues. And then Ellie Vote didn't live up to the hype. And he won't live up to the hype on this team. When I hate a team, I hate runs deep, and there's not too much bringing it back. And my hate for this team is really deep. I can't believe they would do that to their people, and it's just really sad. It's a sad thing to see. They signed Suna.
From Vancouver.
From Vancouver. Okay. I don't know what else to say.
Look at it this way. Suna was playing behind Shockwave and Dalton.
Exactly.
So,
there's not much to say. They just needed to fill out, and Suna needed to stay relevant. So did Ellie Vote. So did Neptuno. They all needed to stay relevant. The only one that's surprising to me is Onigod. I'm really surprised the fact that he had to fill in for the Zarya Decay. The fact that he had to fill in for Decay, he was doing really well in those last couple of weeks for Dallas. And I'm really, really, really surprised he didn't get picked up on a different team. Just for that alone. And they announced a new head coach. Get amazed. Again, you guys got to remember that they're all playing for the league minimum, which means none of them are going to try very hard. They're not trying.
Unless they're going to try hard to get out of Paris.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only thing you're going to see is them overcoming. Like what we want to see is them overcoming their faults.
Their own organization.
Yeah, them trying to overcome so they can get into a better organization, right? And that's what a lot of the players from Boston do.
They're pretty much playing the season as if they're getting scouted.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so hard. You see it with Boston, like these good players. Very rarely do these good players go to good teams. You just don't see it happen. Once they get on these bad teams, they get poisoned. So, my thoughts. I got very strong thoughts on this team. Not positive whatsoever. That's just my thoughts. Anybody else want to add anything?
That's
I mean,
for me.
they might beat Vancouver.
They might be Vancouver, and we'll talk
Anyone
about
will beat Vancouver next season.
Yeah, I think that the highest that Paris will place is probably like 18th.
18th, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the highest. That's their cap. It's probably going to be 19th. Yeah. All right, the next team we got going up is... Well, the next 4 teams were the last 4 teams in the playoffs bracket.
First 4.
The last 4 in the playoffs bracket.
Oh, so like the last 4
The last 4 to play. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
First up, we have the ones who dropped the farthest. Who dropped the first, They dropped first. So it was Philadelphia Fusion.
the Philadelphia Cowards.
Yes. Philadelphia, for me, has always been a second best team. Never been a first best team. They have players, like I said before, like Carpe, Eco, also
Poco.
pronounced EQO, Poco,
Alarm.
Alarms.
Oh, God,
Alarm's
yeah,
good. I never really liked Alarm, but Alarm's good. Didn't they have... no, they didn't have Fissure. No, that was Soul Gladiators.
It's Sato.
They had Sato. Who was before him, though? They had Fraggy.
No, Fraggy was on Mayhem.
Who was the... You wouldn't know. Who was the main tank before him?
I think it was always Sato.
No, it was some white guy.
Sure on that one.
It was some white guy. God, I can't remember his name. He was a Reinhardt specialist, and that's why. We'll look it up, and I'll put it in the editing somewhere.
Yeah.
And they've always been really good, but never great. There's
Astro.
Funny Astro's really good.
Yeah.
Funny Astro. Actually, I want to.
Amazing.
I want to revisit a statement I made before, where I said only Slime and Moth were contenders for the best Lucio. Funny Astro is stuck on an always second best team, and he's one of the best.
He's got big
Lucios.
ears too.
He's got huge ears. Yeah.
I would have to agree with Brain on that one. I think Funny Astro definitely puts it in a place for Lucio as well.
Yeah. As a team, I don't like the Philadelphia Fusion again, but the players are pretty good, which sucks, right? So, yeah, they've always just been a second best team. They've never been able to finish it out. They've always either been second, third, or fourth, which is really sad to see.
Going off that too, it's just it's their whole entire ideal. I mean, their movement of apparently now going to APAC, and they're going to Seoul to become their home stadium. And I'm feeling kind of different about that because when you have a team that was so focused and so ready to be in the championship, and they were talking about how they were going to sweep all of the teams in the finals, and they ended up getting 0-2 against Seoul and Shanghai. And then you're now going to be trying to go into into a new league area where you're playing against them on a daily basis for the playoff berth.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'd rather see them stay in the NA region and, go after Dallas, Gladiator, Shock, because I think they would have a better chance with that. Because, when you're playing against Seoul, Shanghai, you're playing against NYXL, you're playing against, Spark. I think it's going to prove a better challenge. And Brain was saying, for a second place team that's always has been, if they can prove their worth, I think maybe they could definitely have a shot at winning the whole entire championship if they can show that they belong there, and they can prove that they deserve to win.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of a catch-22, right? Because while they're moving over there because of teams like they're moving over to APAC because
they were scared of the
teams.
Shock, the Glads, the Mayhem, the Fuel.
But now they have to go up against teams like Seoul, Shanghai, Spark to an extent, London Spitfire to an extent, or we'll go over them. Or actually, no. You know what? I think I skipped them in this one.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about London Spitfire.
We were just mainly going over the biggest signings and.
But it's like I don't know. It's a catch-22. You're fucked if you do. You're fucked if you don't. Either way, they're kind of fucked, right? But with a couple of the signings and a couple of the trades they had, we're hoping, because I've never disliked Philadelphia Fusion. I've only disliked where they place and what they do, right? Like I've never been like, oh fuck Philadelphia Fusion. It's just they've never lived up to the potential, like you said. They've never just lived up to their potential, and that's a sad thing. So, anything you want to add?
I mean, they got great players, but they always fall short in the playoffs. And for Philly fans, it sucks. Like always, like watching your team have a great season and always falling short.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember they beat the Shock in one of the tournaments too, and it was very frustrating for me. But they show that they have potential to win it, and then when they just, like I said, when they get swept, it's kind of an understatement.
But yeah, they definitely have the star players that they need. Carpe. They also signed Shockwave. Well, I guess we'll talk about signings.
Yeah.
But like with players like Carpe and Alarm and Funny Astro, you're gonna see them have those standout plays. But it's how many times are they gonna choke? Always watching the Glads or the Eternal play against the Shock last season, I was always getting so frustrated whenever Carpe was on Widow and nobody would do anything about it.
Exactly. Like it's just hard. Anyway, we'll get into it. They got rid of Boombox. They got rid of Chipsa. And
rip.
Oh yeah. Oh no.
Hey,
and their coach
I like
KDG.
Chipsa. I think this Doofus was good. I mean, granted, yes,
He said I like Chipsa.
I don't know. Hey, do you know what? I'm gonna say this right now. His streams, I understand the personality difference. I understand that you can't get behind that whole thing, but when you play one game and you actually do really well as a Doomfist, I think there's potential to show that he maybe still belonged on the team. Maybe he wasn't as good as the other players, but I think, and like Brain said, it can't take one person to be a playoff contender.
Well, yeah, he's really good at Doomfist. He just lacks versatility.
Doomfist is never in the meta, really.
It's hard, and when he fell off the map as a Doomfist, that was during the playoff on what was the map? It was
Oasis.
It was on Oasis, yeah, Symmetra's map during the control point where it's the bridge on top.
Yeah, what is that? That's not City Center. That's Gardens.
Library.
Gardens, yes, it was.
No,
Gardens.
that's not
yeah,
Library.
Yeah. And I think he did really well. That was just one minor inconvenience, and he is he is now 100% in Owl, and he has 100% win rate. But I think he had potential, and I think he actually maybe was a good Doomfist. But but when you're a one trick, I think it kind of differs because you need to be able to play something that's like helps the team in every variety.
Going back to what I said earlier, like lacking versatility.
Yeah, and exactly. we were saying this earlier, not earlier in the show, but just earlier. Like the meme picks, like it's like a double-edged sword. It's like you get players like Seagull, XQC wasn't a meme pick. I think he was a serious pickup, but his personality and his actions outside of the Overwatch League just kind of made him a meme pick. Mm-hmm. But you can get a lot of good play and a lot of good players out of big streamers. But one, they don't want to leave that source of cash. Yeah. Emong will never leave. XQC will never come back. He makes way too much money nowadays.
I heard that J3 is currently in talks with Florida Mayhem. With something.
That'd be interesting.
I'm not too sure what it is, but I've heard that they've been talking.
Yeah.
He might just have like a sponsorship with them.
Yeah.
On his streams, he promotes them and stuff like that. Because I think I've seen that before.
A lot, and it's really cool to see him do all of that.
Dafran was another meme pick, but at the same time, he did memey things on the Atlanta Reign, he was still really good. Like they didn't have a great first stage, but they had a pretty good first stage. Like they came out pretty hot out of the gate. Now, did they fizzle out? Yes, but that's arguable. But I don't know. I think with Chipsa, again is another popular player who just wasn't very good. Never really liked Chipsa. Never watched him. I love playing Doomfist as a character, but I I don't see the utility in a Doomfist one trick.
Which
I
is
just
why
don't
said,
see it.
yeah, it's a one trick. You got to be able to play other players.
Exactly, but again, big streamers aren't gonna get big on playing multiple heroes. They're usually gonna get big playing one role or one
Well,
hero.
currently his Hanzo's going off. I think his
Really?
Hanzo's getting a lot better.
Okay, I mean, if he gets good on Hanzo, doesn't mean he should be in the Overwatch League because Hanzo's barely played.
Which I will attest to that. I will agree with that.
But
Remember when picking Hanzo was a throw pick?
oh, like soon on Hanzo.
Oh yeah, I was so mad at that.
Soon on Hanzo, kind of dicked on him. Announced new head coach, 9K, which is good. 9K is really good.
He was assistant coach for Paris Eternal, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and last year.
Traded New York for Mono, which we're going to see a huge passive play style from them these days. They were very aggressive with Sato, Carpe, Eco. I mean, when we get to watch Carpe and Eco, we get to watch them full hold, 2v6. That's how aggressive they are. But Carpe is a playmaker and not an aggressive player. But playmaking and aggressive playing is two different things, right? Like, they're just two different things. You can be aggressive while making plays, or you can actually be aggressive, which throws players off or teams off, right?
Yeah.
Which was a great play, by the way, when they 2v6'd an entire team
Oh yeah, him
to
and
take
Eco.
a point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he just emoted on stream, during the game. Like, great. Announced departure of Sato, Fury, and Ivy. Ivy was a big one. Ivy kind of carried them last season. You saw Ivy play over Carpe and Eco. I think Ivy was playing over Eco, right?
Yeah.
So that departure was kind of weird. But if they don't have a place for him, they don't have a place for him. Fury was another one. Fury was on the Spitfire, wasn't he?
Yeah.
In season
Yes,
1
he was.
Spitfire. Maybe he burnt out because I know those Spitfire they can't be great, anymore like they used to be, and I think we talk about that later on. Sad to see him go, but I mean he can't play forever, right? Sato makes sense. Sato's such a weird position because everybody always hyped up Sato for some reason. All the announcers hyped up Sato. It's another fusion situation, except Sato's actually good.
Yeah, like Sato is definitely a really, really well improved player for sure.
Definitely, probably most improved between season 2 and season 3. Probably most improved between season 2 and season 3.
Yeah.
In season 2, he was just a big old feeder, but in season 3, he actually didn't carry, but he did a lot.
Did his job.
Yeah, did his job just great, right? But if they're looking for a different play style, they're looking for a different play style, and they don't want to pay everybody. You okay?
Yeah, I'm just yawning a lot.
Yeah, he's crying right now. He's sad.
No, I'm not.
He's sad to see Sato go. And then they announced the pickup of Hisu, which love to see good players play.
Not the pickup, the re-signing.
Oh, the re-signing. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Wait. No, they traded Hisu. They traded Hisu to Toronto.
That's right.
Okay.
Who did they re-sign then?
They didn't re-sign anybody. Well, they re-signed
Carpe and
Eco.
Yeah.
But
were they re-signed or were they still on
you
contract?
would be an idiot not to re-sign Carpe.
I don't know, dude.
Unless Carpe's like, I want $1 million.
Well,
I'd give it to him. Carpe, come on.
No, Carpe is great. Don't get me wrong, but he's somebody who's hard to work with. Carpe and DM were friends, but he's always had like a very low key and kind of a dickish personality.
Okay.
Eco's always had a really good personality, but he's kind of fallen off. But we see the signing of Shockwave. We kind of see. I don't know if Carpe is going to play all too much. I think it's going to be another Hisu Ivy situation where they play Shockwave most of the time, and then when they need a specialist, like an Asher, like they really want that Widow on a certain map, they're going to bring in Carpe.
Hot take, Shockwave is a better Ashe than Carpe.
That's fine.
Like,
That's fine. Widow and Ash are two completely different heroes.
yeah.
Um,
Don't forget the Shockwave's also a really good Widow.
Shockwave's a really good.
We'll get into the Widowmaker when we come to my team, but yeah, I get that, I guess.
Yeah, no, a Shock.
Boy. Ooh, Widowmaker, Shock. Ooh, I wonder who that is.
Well, when you have the best Widowmaker on your team, you kind of have to talk about it.
Arguable.
Fair enough.
You know, Shockwave's another, like, actually he's a lot like Carpe. No, Carpe's pretty consistent. Shockwave's not too consistent on Widow. I think that was the thing.
Also, keep in mind he was on the Titans.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Titans. And yeah, so that's about it for them. I hope they improve. You see them going back to their roots by getting rid of Hisu and Ivy, which is very interesting because they were really, really good, and I don't think they were the problem on the team. I think their biggest problem was, and also getting rid of Fury. You see them going back to their roots.
With Poco.
Yeah. I think their biggest problem was either coaching or just team morale in general. Because I think they've always had the talent and the ability to get to number one. But...
Or even if it wasn't team morale or coaching, it could be main tank. You know what I mean? Like,
it could have been main tank.
Yeah, Sato was doing his job, but who's to say that somebody else couldn't have done the job better? Like, if, for example, if they had somebody like Fearless, you know?
Yeah, I mean? Exactly, and got them there.
Yeah.
Anyway, anything else you want to add to the team? About the team?
They're
Anybody?
cowards.
Yeah, big cowards. Can never finish.
Not that they couldn't finish, but the fact that they want to run from
yeah.
that team, this team, and the Shock.
Well, and then there's talkings that Dallas might move to APAC.
Yeah, so it'd be funny if they're like trying to get away from Dallas, and Dallas like, haha, we're right there with you, bud.
Which would be super scary.
But
which means you're going to be staying up till 2 a.m. watching Overwatch League games.
I'll just watch the
VOD after.
The VOD after, yeah.
But in the famous words of Chips, I've never been so unlucky.
Oh boy, that's unlucky.
Exactly. Okay, so for our next team, it is the
two-time reigning championships.
Two-time reigning championships. We'll let we'll talk about our thoughts, and then we'll let Sup Bud take over on the announcements and stuff like that. But first, let's talk about our thoughts. We'll let Sup Bud start. Thoughts on the team?
Yeah, Shock. I mean, I really got nothing to say on that. I mean, minus was
okay. He has nothing to say. Let's move on.
But I mean, you know, you can. The reason why I can say that is because you know the moves on the off season. Granted, we lost. I mean, we'll get into all, but I'll just say Rascal and Moth. But you know, their signings, their capabilities, they're keeping almost more than 90% of their team. It's just it's just one good move after another. I mean, minus a few things, but. Honestly, I think you could see them winning once again the championship and going for that 3-time title, and it's what our coach Krusty wants. Krusty told in a tweet a while back that he's going for 3 and then he's retiring, and I really hope that happens.
Did he say 3 in a row or just 3 in general?
What's up?
Did Krusty say he wants 3 in a row or just 3 in general?
Krusty wants 3 in a row. He's going for 3 in a row. And it's, that kind of motivation. Mm-hmm. I hope it happens because that would be amazing. And I don't think anyone can hold up to what the Shock have for the many years to come down the road.
Well, the thing about the Krusty wanting 3 in a row thing, that means that if they do win this upcoming season, then Krusty will retire, and then they'll no longer be a threat.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but you guys won't. Yeah, but will any of the Gladiators or Dallas be able to win 3 championships in a row, though?
Yeah, well, that leads into my
not
point.
In the league, then maybe.
That leads into my point really, and again, you have to take this as somebody. Take this from somebody who has liked the Shock since day one, has liked the fact that they won twice. Okay, I really don't want them to win next season, and that might be a hot take. As a fan, I really don't want them to. We were talking about this earlier.
Well, and it's not like necessarily just as a Shock fan. It's more just as an Overwatch League fan.
As an Overwatch League fan, yeah, and that kind of leads into it.
Like you don't want to see an empire you don't want to see Shock become an empire of like just doing good every single year.
Yeah, like
exactly.
we like to talk about this all the time. We like to compare the San Francisco Shock to the New England Patriots.
We were alluding to it earlier, right? So how many times do you go into a Super Bowl and you look at the New England Patriots win and you're like, okay, I don't...
Great.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
The New England Patriots.
And as an yeah.
Besides the bandwagoners, everybody hated the Patriots.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so my biggest fear, past that, this kind of leads into the future of the league. My biggest fear is that if the Shock win again this season, we're going to see teams do one of two things. Okay, they're going to build a super team. Okay, they're going to build a super team and try to compete with Shock. Okay, and the super team is either going to work or it's not going to work, and there's only going to be 4, maybe 5 teams who do this out of the 20 we got right now.
Yeah.
And the rest of the teams are only going to build like what I like to call fuck it teams. Just go in there and have a team in there.
Because I will say it's hard because, you know, Shock is sponsored by T-Mobile, and it's one of the biggest contributors of Overwatch League. And I can only really think of what Brain was telling me the other night. You know, Dallas is by
Jack in the Box.
Who's Dallas by once again? Jack in the Box. Yeah, and that can hold up to good sponsorship and also good money for the turnaround for players. And you know, you can't really say the same about most of the teams, is that they don't have that huge of a sponsorship to get good players, to get good coaches, to get, you know, just everything they need in order to build a championship team.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but also look at it this way. Houston Outlaws were sponsored by T-Mobile for a little bit.
And they didn't do shit with it.
We saw how that went.
But so what the future of the league looks like, and what I'm afraid of, is that teams will build about 4 or 5 teams will build super teams that only compete with each other, and then all the other teams just build whatever teams to be in the league, and they don't really care, and it creates a lot less diversity. Okay, so we're already seeing it happen. We're already seeing it happen in real time. Well, it kind of wasn't their fault. We saw it happen with the Vancouver Titans.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't their fault, but they had to. And then we're seeing it happen with the Paris Eternal. We saw it happen with the London Spitfire, even though that turned out better than we thought.
Boston
Uprising.
Yeah, they're just putting teams in there just to be in the league, while obviously, like, the strong teams that are coming out, like, obviously the Shock aren't just coming out as a strong team. They've been a strong team.
Yeah, exactly.
But, like, strong teams like the Shock now coming out as the Glads, the Dallas Fuel, and Philly's always been a pretty strong team.
We're seeing right now, right in this second, we're actually seeing a lot of teams who can contend for the title. Okay, it's not just Shock. Shock's a super team, but we've seen that they have cracks.
Mm-hmm.
They have weaknesses. Okay, we saw it at the beginning of both seasons 2 and 3. Okay, now when they're on, they're on. When they're off, they're off. No. They have a pretty good in between. When they're on, they're on, and when they lose a game, we
see
can
them
see
bounce
it.
back.
Yeah, we can see them bounce back, but we can also see them go down a little bit, right?
It's not like the Glads
but-
where it's like if when they lose a game, it wears on them and then it
Yeah.
carries with them into the next
But
game.
we'll get into that when we discuss all the players and everything.
Yeah, exactly. But so that's what I don't know. It's like a catch, again, a catch-22. I want to see them win because they're one of my teams, but I don't want to see them win because I'm afraid of what's gonna happen. I'm afraid of the future. That being said, I think that's everything we want to say on the teams. They were a really great team in Season 3. Season 2, great team.
I will say,
We just don't want to see them build a super empire.
Losing Sinatra, that was the saddest thing of Season 3. Of losing, and you guys will agree with me on this, please. You have to. Losing the best tracer in the whole entire league.
Striker might be better.
Striker's probably better. SBB was really good. Who's the guy who was on Spitfire? Prophet?
Oh, Prophet.
I'll say he was probably the best Zarya. I'll give him the best Zarya. His Doomfist was
that's true.
His Doomfist was crazy.
Oh, his Doomfist
when he was on.
Incredible.
I'm just not comfortable giving you Tracer.
All right, I can
As an
I'll
absolute.
respect that then. But I will
Okay.
say
Well,
this-
especially back watching like Apex and stuff like that before Overwatch League and watching teams because Sinatra used to play on Selfless with Dafran and watching teams like Rogue
Mm-hmm.
beat him. Like Soon got the better of Sinatra all the time. Obviously,
Exactly.
Soon fell off and Sinatra was like more relevant for a longer amount of time. But
Ooh, actually, we can talk about that really quickly. Really quickly. So the reason why Sinatra left was because he was feeling burnout from the game, and I think that's extremely healthy for the game. I think that players leaving, no matter how big they are, and I think Sinatra did just a great job of doing it. I think he handled it very well. But I think players leaving because they're losing love for the game is great because it fosters an environment where players who actually like to play the game keep playing. And so that gives us fun plays. That gives us really, players who are playing really hard and who actually want to be there. You see it through the gameplay. You see it through the interviews and stuff like that. I miss Sinatra. I miss him like a shit ton. But
you can still see him.
exactly,
Well,
he's
yeah.
playing Valorant now.
yeah,
Yeah,
and it's
he's now number 1 ranked in Valorant as he wanted to do.
nice.
Yeah, I think the guy's insane.
It's interesting because I was just watching a video on YouTube and it was like talking about like who is the GOAT of Overwatch,
Yeah.
like the greatest of all time, and he like narrowed it down to 3 people, and those 3 people were, obviously like not so much anymore, but Jaehong,
Yeah, Jaehong was great.
Prophet,
Prophets, oh my god, Prophets.
and then the
crazy.
third one he said it's a bit of a stretch because he left for another game, but Sinatra.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I'd make a strong case for Sinatra as well. Obviously, being on the Shock and winning those titles, being on Team USA, finally being able to beat Team South Korea.
Oh, that was a huge.
Yeah.
Yes, Team South Korea. And China. I'm sure they beat China
And
too.
China-
They did,
it was
yeah.
China.
And then they beat South Korea. Did they beat South Korea in the finals?
No, the time that they won, I don't think that it was them versus South Korea in the finals. I think they knocked out South Korea before the final.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
it,
okay,
what,
yeah,
it was South Korea they knocked out first, and then they won against China in the final
In the
round
grand
when
final,
they
yeah.
had
Fair.
Moth. They had Moth. They had
Raucous.
sorry, they had Moth Super. I think
Space.
they had
They had
yes, they had Space. Yeah, which is
Then they had Corey, Sinatra,
and KSF.
and KSF.
and,
yeah.
KSF. Yeah, it was a team built for the ages.
I thought he was doing a racism. I'm not gonna lie.
A what?
A racism?
A racism?
For who?
Yeah.
Wait,
I
what?
thought you were spouting like, I don't know. It was real weird. It was
What?
real odd.
I have
you said,
no idea
you
what
said,
you're talking about.
You said China, and I thought you were thinking of South Korea.
No, I
Oh.
know,
I know.
they beat China. I literally just watched this replay like a month ago. Watching them play.
I know. It came to me. Maybe I was doing a racism.
Yeah, you were.
Okay, well, anyway, let's move on to the. We can move on because I think we've said enough about that. We'll talk about the players and everything.
Yeah. So yeah, let's get into. We're gonna have because it's his team. We're gonna have Sup Bud do this part. He's gonna announce all the announcements they had.
So as of October 16th, we lost the departure of our assistant coach. His name was Arkane, and he went to Spark, and I think, and he was a very good assistant coach. He was one of the role models and one of the keen rollers, understanding what Krusty wanted, and for Spark that can be huge for them because you have, and he groomed, he helped with not only with making ons better. You got they looked more towards Sheob and they looked towards. I mean, he was a really good coach, and I think that they can really use his potential.
And I think that's another healthy move is to move coaches or assistant coaches from super teams to lesser teams, and that again fosters a really big community and stuff like that.
And then we lost Rascal, which
Rip.
it's I can't really say that. I mean, just coming from that, I just really can't say anything else because that man was good.
We didn't-
His May was unstoppable. His Symmetra was amazing. I just it's really upsetting to see someone leave because of that.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about it, but we're going to skip ahead just a tiny bit. They also lost Moth, right? And we didn't really get to talk about it when we talked about Moth the Gladiators, but these two are, I don't think it's confirmed, but our thoughts, our theories is these two left because of money issues. Okay? Now, I wholeheartedly support the idea that these players are able to leave if they don't feel they're getting paid enough. These are two-time champions. These are great players. I mean, Rascal and Moth are amazing. I'm sad to see them leave. I'm sure Shock's sad to see them leave. But if Shock felt like they weren't worth keeping, then
Their loss.
Their loss.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, we know that Sideways is happy about it, but yeah, but we're good. And then going into announcements. So as of November 12th, November 12th, we received from Paris FD God, which is huge because one of the best Lucio mains in the whole entire league. And as we were saying earlier, and also his personality, I feel, and I've watched a couple of his streams. I've watched his streams. I've watched highlights. I've watched everything with him as as someone who wanted to know who's coming on my team. And it's just I think he gets lost in the game. The same thing as what happened with Moth, and having that kind of personality regained for the team. I think that will bring a huge drive to us and make the game more fun, better, and just have people's optimism more secure to having a good, well-timed match.
And
well-placed match.
He just needs to be careful of optimism versus what I don't want to see is somebody win and be like, oh, all right, we won, and then somebody lost and be, oh, all right, we lost, it's okay.
Just kind of being carefree.
Yeah, we don't want to see carefree. We want to see good personalities, but we want to see caring for the game and not just carefree in general.
Yeah, because if you're carefree about a loss, then you don't really learn anything from it.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't give a shit about a loss, you're like, okay, who cares? We lost.
We also, as of November 30th, we brought in Nero, which, going off of Brain, I'm going to say the same thing. Apparently, what I've heard or what I've seen is that Ons is getting kind of a less energetic vibe towards Overwatch, and we wanted to get somebody who can play the same characters almost as Ons, as just a backup, just in case we end up in case we need someone to play.
I think
I thought that Nero mainly played
No.
Flex.
Yeah, I think you're thinking of Glister.
Or am I? Sorry, no.
That's okay.
Glister normally plays May and Pharah.
No, that's Nero.
No, that's Nero.
I thought it was
Nero and
Come on, buddy. I thought you knew your team.
Then opposite. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Then.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, Glister was. We brought in Glister as a backup. And
it's almost like it's almost like a Carpe Shockwave situation.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say that I don't think Glister or Nero. I mean, Glister can play over Ons. I think he can, but it's just as the moment having the best Widowmaker in the league, I think he will have more time than him. But given we don't want to see a great player leave, and I think having him as a backup or having him as a somewhat starter, maybe it could be very beneficial to our program.
Yeah, exactly. And what you would hate to see is burnout from Ons and stuff like that, because you can't be the best Widowmaker. I feel like you keep getting called the best Widowmaker in the whole entire league.
It's a lot to live up to.
It's a lot of pressure. And so
also the same thing with him and his Ash. When he had Moth on him the whole time, just damaged. He was good, and hopefully he can still keep that. But at the same time, I understand the pressure and all
That'll
the
be Bird Ring.
No, it'll be Bird Ring, he said. We're excited for the Bird Ring Moth. Fuck, what was I saying? Shit, you made me lose my train of thought.
Oh well.
Okay. So what I was gonna say was Ons didn't always get played. He wasn't a permanent member on the.
He wasn't. Remember, we still have Rascal.
You had
Striker.
Rascal and
We had
Striker
Rascal,
or Architect.
Striker, and
No, Architect
Architect.
went to Spark.
This season or
And-
last season?
Yeah, Architect was on the Spark this season.
Oh, okay.
It just
So,
passed.
yeah, so Rascal and,
Architect was season 2, but he ended up getting traded after they won. After
Architect and no wait. Okay, I'm
I
confused
think
now.
I think
They
I
had
think
Rascal
we
and
had
Striker.
We had Rascal, Striker, and Teo.
Tayo,
That's right, yeah.
So
Tayo,
Tayo barely got played. He got played for the
Teo's Genji. Woo,
yeah. It was
but
okay.
whatever.
So the ones who mainly got played that I saw a lot more was Striker and Rascal. Striker and Rascal got played a lot, and we saw that because Arns was really good at not the best, but really good at Ash, and he was the best, arguably, at Widow. But when the map called for a Tracer Sombra or a Tracer May or
You always saw
pretty
it.
much
You always
any
saw
other
it.
combination, you always saw Rascal and Striker. Especially
I will
Striker's
say, though,
Tracer was crazy.
I will say though, in the finals, when they were on Busan against Seoul, Arn's Widow was some of the best Widowmaker you can ever see.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, Ons is crazy.
Yeah,
I think the only person who gave him a run for his money.
I am very excited to see what they do this year, along with the new signings. Granted, we're going to be seeing a whole different gameplay with losing Moth and Rascal, but I think we can still I think we can still hold on to our championship title, and I think we can definitely still be that same team we were.
Yeah, it's like you
that
had
would be
some
the
fractured
hope, right?
parts, but you got the stuff to fill it
Like
back in.
having
Hopefully.
God, Nero, and Glister, I think we can still.
Yeah.
I think it'll be an exciting season to watch.
Yeah, I'm super excited for him. Okay, well, the next one is the Seoul Dynasty. Another 0 to hero. Like, even though they got pretty much swept in the finals, the championships.
What?
Did they not get
Oh,
swept?
you mean like
Seoul Dynasty came back from a 2-0 to make it a 3-2 different. I mean a 4-2 difference. Do you remember on Watch Point in Gibraltar, they pulled out the Genji and they stopped him on the first point against Shock.
I didn't watch the finals because I don't care about the Shock.
And it was also at 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay, I might be wrong.
No. Yeah, no.
Okay, so then Seoul
was
Dynasty.
the riding force. They ended up.
I could have swore they got
beat
swept,
Shanghai
but-
to kick them out.
No, yeah. I'm talking about against Shock. Anyway, I like to see a team come from middle of the pack, but great personalities and stuff like that. I love seeing them come to the top. I mean, imagine you're going against Titans like the Shock. Well, I guess LMAO Titans. Titans like the Shock, the Philadelphia Fusion, the Shanghai Dragons. I mean, you're going against these huge teams, and while you have the pieces to be a huge team, you just didn't show it over the season, right? Like, I love to see them come all the way to second place. Are you kidding me? That's great. That's the shit I eat up, man. That's the shit I love. Like, that's what the Overwatch League needs to be made of. Yeah, great showing. Great team, great showing. Anything else?
Before we talk about like the departures and the signings.
Yeah.
No,
Anything you want to add on to the team?
You pretty much said it all.
No, I mean I got really nothing. I mean they beat Philly, they beat
Shanghai. Yeah.
Yeah, they were good. Granted they gave me a scare at 5 o'clock in the morning at the finals when they were coming back, but they were.
And
good.
that's coming from a Shock fan. Like they respect.
It's coming from a Shock fan. Yeah, if when a team gives me a scare, that's when it kind of gets a little, oh shit.
Yeah, that's all the respect. So they announced the departure general manager Hokuri, Hokrai, something like that. Which could you don't really want to see that, but I mean it could have been their weak point, right? Like it could have been what dragged them down during the season as their GM. You see the departure of Illicit, Michelle, Bedosin, and Slime. Slime obviously got picked up. I don't think Illicit, Michelle, or Bedosin. And Bedosin is who I was talking about earlier from the season 1 winner,
Spitfire.
Spitfire. He might just be out. He might just be done. He might be tired of Overwatch, which is perfectly okay. Again, I don't think he announced retirement, so maybe he is looking for another team. I could be completely wrong, but I don't know. He's been playing for a long time, man. I want to make sure these players who have been playing too long, I want to make sure they're getting their rest. They're getting their mental, mentally sound. Because being overplayed, being overworked is definitely an issue that plagues the Overwatch League. And I want to make sure that people, again, I care for the players. I couldn't give two shits about the league or the orgs most of the time. The players' well-being is where it stands with me. Michelle and Illicit suck because they were really good. They don't suck. The fact that they got cut sucks because they were really good. Obviously, they weren't like big names like the rest of the team, and they weren't always making plays, but you don't get that far having two people on your team who are trash.
Yeah.
So obviously at some point they were good. Slime, good thing he got picked up. Again, he's one of the best Lucios in my opinion in the league. Right up there with Moth, right up there with Buddy Astro. FD God's way down here, but
no.
Wow.
No.
They announced the departure of Toby, which was really, really sad. Rip Toby. Probably
he was
his
the
time.
last OG player on that roster.
Yeah, last OG player for Seoul. Probably his time. Won't be too mad. I'm not too mad that he's gone. He probably wants to be gone. Him and Jae-Hong were like this, and now that Jae-Hong's gone, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, it was kind of a screwed up situation with Jae-Hong on the Titans.
Yeah.
Too, when that did happen.
Don't worry, we're getting to the Titans. I have a lot to say about that. They did sign Onimo and Sabiolbi, which, good. Sabiolbi probably won't get a lot of playtime over Prophet, but he probably bring a big leadership.
That's what they signed Sabiolbi for, was for that leadership role, because Sabiolbi was everything to the NYXL.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
the heart and soul.
Yeah.
Don't take my jokes. I already said that earlier.
Okay.
But yeah, like you could tell, like just by the way that like Sabiolbi was talking to his team, like he was definitely their guy when it came to keeping a level head, and you know.
Oh shit! There's a video of him, like comforting Flower.
Yeah, because Flower was
loss.
he was
crying.
He was like, I don't know if he was crying, but he was definitely like shelled. You know what I mean? He was
Season
stressed
2,
out.
Season
And Sabiolbi
2,
was like holding his hand, like talking him through it and stuff.
Yeah. Sabiolbi
Season 2, they said to their fans that they were going to be back next season better than ever, and they showed it. Granted, they lost, but it was still a very heartwarming and touching moment for it.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Like, SBB, always going to be one of my top 3 players. Always and forever. Don't care what team he's going to be on. It's another one of those situations, like, he'll never be overhyped in my eyes because he's not ever going to be one of the greatest players. But he's always going to be a great player, just not top S tier. But he's always going to be a great leader. Always going to be a S tier team member.
He's just a straight up just good dude.
Yeah, he's a great dude. The fact that he kept a picture of his wife and his kid.
Oh yeah,
every time he
his
played.
Keyboard.
Every time he played. Oh, dude, stand up, dude. Love the guy. It's good to see. Sad to see him. No, wait. Yeah, good to see him get picked up somewhere else. You know what I mean?
I mean, at least he's probably happy that he gets to represent Korea.
Again, yeah. And then Onimo, great pickup. Great guy. Still has a lot of life left in him. Same with Libero, but Libero hasn't been picked up just yet. Hopefully we get to see him get picked up by a different team.
I would hope, yeah.
Anything else anybody wants to say about Seoul Dynasty?
Hopefully we see them in the finals again. Because they were a fun team to watch.
Yeah.
They scared the shit out of me.
All right, so last of our 4 playoff teams, we have Shanghai Dragons.
Ooh.
A big 0 to hero story. 0-42 to top of the league. At least in wins and losses. Now, was it against only APAC teams? Yes. But APAC showed a pretty good showing this season. Not as good as North America or the rest of the regions, but definitely a good showing nonetheless. So take their number one with a grain of salt, because there wasn't as many good teams to play against over there.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, look at it this way. Like, think of if everybody played in the same same division, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Would the Shock or would Shanghai finish over the other?
Exactly.
I mean? Or Philly finish
Or,
over
even
Shanghai.
Philly, because I think Philly finished first in the other region.
Yeah.
They did, yeah.
And
They
the
beat
other-
Shock is number 2. It went Philly, Shock, and then it went Shanghai, and then Seoul.
No, we're talking about like the standings and
overall
everything,
standings.
not the.
Okay,
I think
sorry,
Philly-
I thought the finals for it.
Yeah, I think Philly had an easier schedule and ended up getting.
I think it went Shanghai, Philly, Shock, Paris,
Yeah, I think so.
and I forgot who was fifth.
It
Florida?
doesn't matter. Maybe
It was either Florida or even Valiant.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I
Valiant? No,
honestly,
not
Florida
Valiant.
sounds like it's right.
I think it was Florida.
In any case, still good to see them go from 0 to hero. We always love those 0-42 to top. Like those are always great stories to hear. Don't know how people are gonna feel now, just because they have been top, but they couldn't finish it off, so they might lose a little bit of popularity. But I just don't think Dragons are ever gonna lose that much popularity. I think they're gonna be pretty popular all the time.
Yeah.
So let's see. Anything else? 1, 2. Nope. All right. They announced the depart. Yeah, we're gonna go to the people.
Oh, okay.
Announced.
I have something really to talk about with them.
Announced departures of Dia, Gigery, Ding, DM, and Luffy. Did you want to talk about this or no?
No, not
Okay.
them. I was going to talk about players that are coming to them.
Not
Or
much.
Going.
Not much to say here. DM's really good. Ding's really good. Dia was okay. Gigery, not great.
But she was the first female Overwatch League player.
Yeah, which
Good
I
feat, yeah.
think we need to see more of for
Yeah.
sure. Luffy was okay, and that's about it. But like I said, the two good ones here are DM and Ding, which don't make too much sense to me. But if it was their time, it was their time. I can't question the org. If they wanted to get paid more, then they're gone. While I do worry more about players' well-beings, I also for the health of the league. Like if they needed to be gone right there, they just needed to be gone. That's fine.
Well, and then just look at their lineup. You know what I mean? Like I can hardly see DM or Ding being played over Fleta and Lip. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly.
Yeah. Oh, dude, Lip. Fuck.
They traded Fearless to Dallas. They traded Fate, or they traded with Florida to get Fate. They signed Erster.
Yeah. I was going to talk about that one.
Erster, I think, is a really good player. He has a lot of life left in him, and he really should be on a good team.
Yeah. I'm going to
Go
fully
ahead.
support that 100%. His, just everything. His Genji, and also when you were talking about earlier, yesterday with his, was it his May you were talking about or something where he was put on someone else? That kind of.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, what you see from Erster, he was less of a hit scan versus projectile. He was more of a type player. So you'd see him on players on Genji, on Tracer, who's who's generally a hit scan player, right?
It's weird
played
with
by hit
Tracer
scans.
because she's actually projectile.
Is she really?
Yeah, her shots are ever so delayed from hitting their targets.
Oh, I didn't know that.
She's very it's not really super noticeable, but she's actually projectile. But a lot of hit scan players play her
Because it's so quick.
You play so up close that it's pretty much
Yeah.
right on.
But he played more of dive, and Pokepo wasn't really good at dive. Gator and Hawk were terrible at dive. That's why they only ever played Sigma Orisa or Sigma Rhine or stuff like that. So I'm glad to see him more on a team that's going to fit his personality and fit his play style better. Anything else?
That pretty much covers it. I'm very excited to see Urster go to Shanghai. I think it's going to be a great fit for him.
Yeah. By the way, I'm doing this and doing silence because I think these trades are great. Like, I can't say much more than just A1 on those trades. Like, that's just what I was trying to get across. I think
It
having
looked like Sato was
Fate,
just confused for a second, but we're good.
I think having Fate is a good replacement if you're going to pick anything, over Fearless. I think Fearless going to Dallas is a great decision. I'm not going to complain about that one. I just can't say much. They traded with Chengdu for Molly. I don't remember what Molly played, but it's obviously not too important. And they announced the departure of Stand One, which they picked up Fate. Stand One would have been a good replacement for Fearless. What are you gonna do? Stand One went to Boston. Rip to Stand One, but hopefully he can start something over there. I'm not gonna lie, I want the players on Boston to succeed. I just don't want Boston to succeed. So, but if Boston ends up succeeding, somewhat, they're not gonna be a contender for playoffs. But if they succeed somewhat, then I'm fine with that. I'll stop doing this, but I'm fine with that, right? Like, I'm okay because those players deserve it. Stand One. Who else is on Boston? Stand One. Soon for sure. Big one. I'm 37. He's crying. Stand One. I'm 37. Even though he's not great, he's got a great personality. I mean, he's flipping hilarious. I mean, he's great. That's about it. I want to see them succeed no matter what. Like, I want to see good things from them. Any other parting thoughts on the Shanghai Dragons?
I think we can go on. Yeah.
Great showing this year. Great team. Hopefully they can pull it together for the next one. All right. Our next team is Toronto Defiant. They performed exactly as I thought they were going to perform. Not great. Not good. Not terrible. They're where they are supposed to be.
Decent. Serviceable.
Yeah.
I mean, with
decent.
the team they had. Big departures is Rocky. He's becoming a coach.
Rocky.
Agilities went to Valiant.
Talked about that.
Yeah. The two biggest ones I have an issue with are Surefour and Kareev. No, I don't have a problem with the Surefour one actually, but there's stuff to talk about. The one about Kareev, we'll talk about him. I do have a problem with it because I think Kareev's a great player. If he doesn't get picked up, it's going to be a sad day. That's all I got to say. Surefour, he's just lost a lot of drive for the game, and you could tell through his streams and through the fact that he just didn't play at all in Season 3. Like I said before, I think getting rid of players who don't have drive for the game is just good. It's just good for the game.
I will always have a special place in my heart for Surefour, though, because of the Great Bamboozle.
The Great Bamboozle. I mean, just the whole, circus thing. Good. A1 shit right there. They re-signed Logix. They re-signed Beasts. They signed Aztacs, Asunje. Those, I don't really know who they are, so who cares?
Biggest signing probably from Toronto is probably Coach KDG.
Yeah. Why?
Because he was the Philly head coach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah.
That might be a blessing or a curse.
Yeah. I mean,
Depending
you saw
on-
how Philly, they're consistent in the regular season, and then they can never pull the trigger in the off-season or the playoffs. So we'll see how that goes, honestly.
Yeah. The biggest signings were Sato, Hisu, and Michelle. That'll definitely make them a great team. There might be a bit of a language barrier with Logix, but I hope they do better because I always liked Toronto. Didn't really love them. Wasn't like a team that I'm going to root for, but I'm hoping they do better. That's about it with Toronto.
Yeah,
not much
that's
to
all
really
I can really
say.
say about them too.
The Titans. So to clear a couple of things up, they were kind of the first team. No, they weren't. Not they were not the first team. It's a huge bummer to see the team that started the season 3, Haxel, Slime, Bumper, Fissure, Jehong. It's really sad to see that they got fucked, because I feel like a lot of them, maybe not Fissure to an extent, but a lot of them had a lot more play left in the Overwatch League, and because of issues with the org, that's why I don't really like the Titans org. The fact that they just had issues with the org, and they had to get rid of they had to nuke their whole team, and start fresh with the really bad contenders team, minus Shockwave. It's just a bummer to see, and the fact that Jehong hasn't come back, and like a couple of other players too haven't come back. We're seeing Janu leave from the Washington. We'll see that later.
I think Stitch is leaving Washington as well.
Stitch
right?
is, yep, and we'll talk more about that later. But I mean, the overall is like, fuck, man. Like, those are all good players, and the fact that they got their team nuked, first of all, and then 2, they either didn't get picked up or they got picked up on worse teams for cheap. Just boomed their mental. I mean, Stitch did so well. Janu he did so well in the on the Washington, but like I can't imagine going from a great team to like just a terrible team like that. Like,
Yeah.
doesn't matter how good your play is.
I mean, like, it certainly improved Washington, but like
At
it
what
wasn't.
cost?
Yeah, it's like you were improving that team, but like you went from being top tier team down
literally
to,
first in the league
yeah.
in to and arguably the best team to last, like, or not last, but
Pretty close.
pretty close. Pretty close to last.
Was it
sucks.
it was the Vancouver Titans that were the fastest swept by the Shock, right?
Yeah, they got swept. But again, and we talked about that earlier, like we don't know if that happened because of boomed mentals or because of they were actually bad, because I just don't see them as being bad. I think Dragons winning that 3rd stage was it kind of screwed with who was actually the best team and stuff like that. And then Shock winning the 4th stage, it didn't really screw with it. I don't know. It's really hard to say who was in the 2nd season. Like, it's easy to say in the 3rd season who was the best, but it's really hard to say in the 2nd season who was the best. Like, you just can't give it to one team. You just can't. But I guess the Titans now, it's just like, they get rid of Suna, KSAA, and Karkar, and they signed Fried, they signed Fire and Linkser. They're going to be a bad team. Sorry. It's just not, like, I love Fried. Fun fact, his name used to be FRDWNR, which stood for Fried Wiener, but they wouldn't let him keep it. I think he's a great personality.
Awesome.
I don't think Linkser has a great personality, but he's a pretty good player. And who's the last one? I don't know who Fire is. Again.
Well, he was on the Atlanta Reign.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
he never played.
Yeah. So they're going to be a terrible team again. Like, it's so hard to see this organization fall like that, and to see all the good players just leave like that. I'm glad Shockwave got a team, and a good team at that. Even if they don't win anything, he's still on a good team nonetheless.
Well, yeah, but we all knew that Shockwave was going to get picked up by somebody.
Yeah, Shockwave is nutty. Yep. So, bad team. That's my final thoughts on the Titans.
My 2 cents on that is going to be the same thing that Brain said about Boston Uprising. He already said it as well, but I think the organization and the when it comes to the Vancouver, it seems like the players have lost respect, interest, and just the capability of playing on a team that was so good only a season ago, and then it just went total downhill. And I compare it's different for me. I compare Vancouver to what they agree with what Boston is, and I don't think they can ever come back from that unless they change their whole organization altogether with the coaches and the
Well, and
the
management
managers.
too, like, because
Yeah,
when we talk
exactly.
about an
Yeah.
organization as a whole, we have to talk about management, we have to talk about sponsors, we have to talk about players, we have to talk about coaching, we have to talk about GMs. Like, I just think, I don't even think that the OG players from the Titans had an issue with coaches and stuff. I think they had an issue with management, and I can't remember exactly what the reason was, but we see them go silent in the beginning, and then we see them just nuke the team. That was the play. Like, that was what happened, right? Like, so we just don't know. Again, shitty org. Hope the best for the players, but it's just going to be a bad team again, just like last season. We saw some sparks of hope from the Titans. They showed good promise a little bit, but it was all on the back of Shockwave and, to a much lesser extent, Dalton. They were carrying hardcore, those two. Again, Dalton not as much as Shockwave, but still he was in there.
Also, KSA to some extent, he's decent, serviceable. Also, keep in mind he was playing from the Middle East on 200.
Yeah,
ping.
that's right. Yeah, exactly. You can't ask too much.
Yeah.
I was never mad at the players. They were asking entirely too much from those players.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Just fill in players, and so
like, how could you fill in the shoes of that roster that they had?
Oh yeah, even them getting boomed in the last in the finals, even getting 4-0'd. I mean, I remember that day I was like, hey, I was at work and I was like, hey, I'm gonna hide from the cameras and watch this. Are you cool to take over in the front so I don't have to deal with the customers? And he was like, yeah, and they were already halfway through. It was 2-0. And I was like, yeah, it might last for a couple of hours. And I literally came back in 30 minutes and it was over. And I was
Can we just talk, like, I know it's going towards my team a little bit. Can we just talk about, though, that on Keen's Row, I mean, not Keen's Row, on Eichenwald, Architects, Bastion ult to get on top of the chandelier, and then to stay up there on the final one.
Oh my god.
That was just insane.
I think it was a Maywall to get up there.
No, he
made my
ulted.
whole entire-
He boosted up with his
With his
Yeah.
ult?
with his tank. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He turned to his ult on Bastion, was able to bomb himself up to the chandelier, and then he was just up there, and once he used it, he turned to his turret, and then he was just able to wipe the whole entire team from on top of the turret, and no one could touch him. It was the best gameplay I've ever seen.
Yeah, crazy shit. I mean, Bastion in a finals, like that's like them saying, like, yeah, we can tell you're fucking boomed. Let's just end you here. Like, let's
Also,
just meme on you.
For the people watching, by the way, I will say this: Sideways and Brain like to run a Bastion train when it comes to moving the payload. So
Sometimes, not all the time.
Mostly just Junkertown.
So take it from two people who like to do it, and also from a healer that plays Baptiste to do it as well. That we really like to see that. It's a good thing. Well, at the same
Yeah,
time,
but you
I
don't
hate
really
it,
play
but,
Baptiste
it's
all
still-
too much. You're always my little Mercy pocket.
Of course, yes. Mercy can win a game fight when it comes to Ashe, but when we have that, it's oh god. I have some words about Bash, and we'll probably get into that in another series, but it's still really cool to play and to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it for the team. Last team we have on here was the Washington Justice. Got a lot to say
Okay,
about the
can I just say
Washington
one
Justice.
thing before we get into all this? The Washington Justice. The first playoff game when they played against Shock, when Roadhog and Zarya were meta, that for a team that was in 13th place going against I think the Shock were number 1, correct? Or were they number 2 to Fusion? I mean,
Number 2 to Fusion.
Okay,
Fusion was
two.
number 1.
Yeah. Going against the 13th team, I thought it was going to be an easy win. I thought it was going to be, a 4-0 sweep. I thought it was going to be like, okay, come on, they picked a 13th team for a reason. But when you have Janu go on Roadhog, that was the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. And I thought we were going to lose the series.
You know what was the most terrifying thing? Was Decay on Zarya.
And that too, it made my heart melt a little bit when they got rolled on when they got rolled on Volskaya Industries, which is considered one of their maps, and
Yeah.
you know, Washington had a great run for it. And granted, they did lose, but it just showed that, you know, when there's a meta going on, it doesn't matter if you're good, if you're like an unstoppable team that plays higher in the ranks. It's just Overwatch is just one of those games that just changes everything.
Well,
And
just
I
look at
was-
it this way too. I mean, like, Decay was super fired up because
Yeah,
how many
it
teams
was.
did they beat in the playoffs? They beat Dallas. They beat Paris. They beat anybody else?
I don't think so.
Did they only play Dallas and Paris?
And then I think they played against
I
Shock
think
and
so,
lost
yeah.
against Shock, right?
But like
Yeah.
they beat Dallas, and Decay was super hyped up and fired up over that because of all the Dallas stuff that
Memes
happened.
and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then beating Paris, he had momentum, you know, and obviously, you know, like Tuba was fragging.
Tuba was popping.
Yeah.
Okay, so that kind of leads into this point too. As much as Washington is a very flashy team, it happened in season 2 and it happened in season 3, and it's something we got to watch out for. It's something you got to watch out for if you are a Washington fan. Okay, what you don't want to see is them happen again. Okay, so for 2 seasons in a row, they were last or close to last place, and then at the very end, you see pop off after pop off after pop off, but they can't go any farther than that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what
Yeah.
you need is you need a consistent team who I would much rather see Washington in the middle of the pack, never win a playoffs, never do this, never win against any of the good teams. I'd much rather see a consistent middle of the pack team, Washington, because then at least they actually like accomplish something, right?
Of course.
Like
of course.
I would much rather see that than a last and then get your hopes up, a last place team, then get your hopes up team, and then go right back to fuck, you lost, all because one of your players, i.e. Corey, i.e. Decay, and then your supporting players, i.e.
Tuba,
Janu, and then who was it from season 2, who played with Corey? I'm blanking on his name, but he's funny. Stratus. Stratus,
Stratus.
who
Yep,
came out with
Stratus.
an insane May, right? Insane May. But you can't see that at the end of the season. You just can't. Like, you can't have that happen because then you're just getting your fans' hopes up, and then they're like, well, you're going to fucking lose anyway. So what's the point of supporting you? Right? Like, that's how I felt, at least.
Is it true that Johnny was coming back to Washington? Or
I think they dropped him.
They dropped him
Did
from
they drop him?
Washington.
Because I thought he was re-signed to Washington, but I could be wrong.
I think he got dropped. We're going to have to look. That'll come on the next episode if it was true.
We'll get that information on the one if we have to.
So anyway, that's it. A couple of departures. They got rid of the coach, Wiz. They got rid of Roar, which I honestly thought Roar is in the same area as Decay, going to the Gladiators, being super duper hyped up, and not living up to the hype. I don't think that was fair to either of them as players. And I just think Roar got a really bad rap for essentially just being on bad teams or with bad coaching. Rip, like Roar, I thought he was a good player. I just didn't think he was as good as everybody else. And the fact that they hyped him up so much was kind of and he was a letdown, was just sucked.
Yeah.
I wanted to see him succeed, and same with Decay, and obviously Decay succeeded, and Roar just kind of got left in the dust, even though they were on the same team. I don't know, just kind of sad. They picked up Mag, which is probably why they got rid of Roar. Definitely why they got rid of Roar.
Yeah.
That'll add some much needed main tank. They really needed main tank.
And like I said earlier, Mag was the top tank to come out of Contenders. So
yeah, one or two.
definitely
You know what
the
I mean?
biggest pickup for sure.
They picked up. They signed Decay again, which is a-okay with me.
Expected.
Yeah. Got a new coach, Hokuri, who left from Philadelphia.
I don't know.
Oh,
Anyway,
my bad. It was not Johnny. It was Decay. Yep, I was totally wrong. You were right. It was Decay that was re-signed.
okay, there you go.
Yeah. Yep.
Ark, who's he won the Dennis Haluka Award, didn't he?
Was that like for sportsmanship?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so.
Ark, sad to see him go, but he retired, which I'm okay with retirement rather than just dropping.
Yeah.
He was never really great, but he was always a good personality. Anybody who wins the Dennis Haluka Award is always great in my book. Mickey Custa and pretty sure Ark won it.
I remember like a funny arc moment was like when they were like the top seeded teams were picking who they wanted to play against in like the bracket, and they had Arc on, or like they had the Shock had picked, or no, was it Shock? Yeah, Shock must have picked the Justice, and Super was on Cam, and they brought Arc on. And Ark was just like, okay, who are we playing against? He saw Super and he was just devastated. He's like, no!
Yeah, Ark, I love Ark. I'm, sad to see him go, but, I'm happy that he's feeling good enough to retire. He was never he was part of NYXL, but they didn't win. Then he was part of, I think he showed his true colors on Washington. And, well, it's sad to, like I said, sad to see him go. I'd much rather him feel better.
Yeah.
Just
there's
stick
also
around
there's
for
always
nothing.
a saving grace when you choose to retire instead of going back to a
Yeah.
team where,
Exactly.
like who either wants to waste your potential or that there's nothing going to happen with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
If
just
you were to
not
go to,
getting
like,
signed outright by somebody. You know?
Yeah.
At least you could leave with your peace of mind knowing you retired.
Yeah, with
on
your
own
dignity.
terms, yeah.
And, yeah.
And and we're not saying anything bad about it. He was a great, he was a good player. It's just like there's a huge silver lining when it comes to making your own decisions for it.
Yeah, exactly. So Arc, they signed Jerry, which A-okay with me. They have Decay, so it's a little confusing. They might switch Decay because one of the next ones is they got rid of Janu. They might switch Decay to full-time off-tank, which would be a very odd move.
Huge.
But big
it could
move.
work. I mean, we've seen him put in
yeah.
work on Zarya before.
Yeah, he was insane. Like I don't think that man's Zarya bubble was under like 70 the whole entire time he played.
Oh, his charge?
Energy. Yeah.
Yeah, like his charge. Yeah.
We see a departure of Aim God, Janu, and Stitch. Again, we just talked about Janu and Stitch. Sad. Aim God was another one I'm actually sad about. Aim God was really good. Aim God he's another case of being really hyped up and not living up to it. But I honestly don't think it was his fault. He was on Boston Uprising, of all teams. So kind of sucks. But if he's gone, he's gone. Nothing, not mad at Washington for anything really. They signed Bebe. They signed Closer. Those are good. They signed Fury. I don't remember what I said about Fury.
Fury's a big pickup.
Fury's a huge pickup.
Yeah.
I don't remember if I said he was gone completely, but good. I mean, there you go. Actually, what I said was if Philadelphia, or if old London players don't want to play anymore, but shit, looks like he wants to play. So I'm glad to see him that he's playing. Closer and Bebe, they came from the Spark, I believe. I know Bebe came from the Spark. Pretty sure he's pretty good. Closer, I know Closer was really good. He was one of the best, wasn't he? Or am I thinking of somebody different?
He was on Dallas.
Yeah. Oh, he was the one who retired and came back, didn't he?
I don't think so.
Who was the one who was on Dallas? He came from the original team, and he was like one of the best. He played with AK and Munko, and then he left because they didn't want to play him or something like that.
I'm not too sure.
I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Effect. I'm thinking of Effect.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, yes.
Yeah, his face.
Yeah.
Effect was one of the best. I'm thinking of Effect, but still, Closer's pretty good. Actually, they're looking like a pretty good team. They picked up Rhea too,
Dude,
which I think who was the main tank, wasn't he?
With all the new changes that Overwatch is making with the shields and all that meta, honestly, I think non-shield tanks will have a huge impact on next season.
Oh yeah,
And with Washington is
yeah.
showing
Well, I mean, main tanks will still have a place like Ball and Winston.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, those main tanks. Right?
It's true.
Yeah. Main tanks.
So for those who are listening, if we're going into that, we play us three. We play at a borderline of a plat gold. You know, you'll see us mostly in plat, but at the same time, you'll see us in gold. In my opinion, in my honest opinion, I believe that Ball and Winston are off tanks, and Brain is saying something differently about it, and so is Sideways. It's just, you know, it's just when you go.
You said you didn't want to talk about it.
No,
and
don't
we were
talk
being
about
respectful.
it. If Brain brings it up, then I will talk about it.
I didn't bring it up. I didn't bring it up.
If Brain gives hints towards Ball and Winston and that kind of like, in kind of that like talking perspective, I guess, then I will say it in my own honest opinion. I believe that Ball and Winston are teams. And yes, they're
Okay,
used
fans.
yes, they're used to create space. Yes, they're used as a way to distract and to make, like, you know, room for everybody else, including DPSs and other tanks. The way I can see it is that they are used also for going after low level player. I mean, like low health players. You know, you can go after a support that's well. You can go after a DPS that's well. You can go after a
That's
tank
true for
well,
any
you know.
dive hero, though.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Any dive meta, yes. And I see mostly that towards Ball and Winston. Yes, you can agree, and yes, you can say that at higher levels that are, you know, like us. Yeah, I mean, higher than us. You know, you have Diamond. You have, you know, you have Diamond. You have
Masters, Grandmasters, top 500. Okay.
Exactly. You'll see something different when we play differently. But at the same time, I still think that they can be considered off tanks because their main purpose is to go after low health players.
Not just low health, though. You have to engage, right? Like, you're not just low health off the bat. You're not, like, half health off the bat.
Yeah. But, I don't know. I think you can watch XQC. I think you can watch Yeetle. I think you can watch all of those streams. And I think you can see a majority of them do the same thing that I'm saying. But,
Yeah, they create space, and they,
but
okay.
mostly
Oh, God.
go
I don't
after
really
other
want to get
people.
into this.
But it's whatever.
You're hurting me.
I mean, he's thinking like a platinum gold player.
Yeah, of course. You're being poisoned by where we play in, but
Yeah.
in the highest levels, you're just wrong. Talk to anybody. Talk to XQC. Go get on his stream, donate him a bunch of money, and say, hey, are Ball and Winston off tanks or main tanks? And he'll say main tanks every time. You're just gonna see it. Like, of course they play them like that because they're used like that. They do. They go after low health targets, but that's the truth of any dive character. But the initial dive is you're creating space. So what you do with Winston is you run in and you throw a bubble down between the healers and the tanks. That way the healers can't heal the tanks, and you're just kind of controlling the space that's right there. And you're controlling the healers that's right there. Same with Ball. Ball pushes everybody away and gets your team in to infiltrate their backline and stuff like that. That's what main tanks do. Afterwards, D.Va, there's no other real dive tanks besides D.Va, Ball, and Winston. D.Va runs to the backline where they just dove because they are low health, and they take care of the low health like healers or DPS or stuff like that. But so do the DPS. And then you take care once you take care of the healers, then you take care of the tanks and the DPS, and then you win the fight, right? Like, that's the ideal. But your initial push is to cut off the healers with Winston, is to cut off the healers from the tanks if you're playing them right. And then the initial push with Hammond is to literally physically displace them from where they were so you can move forward. I mean, that's his whole gimmick, is to literally move people away so you can move forward and go in as a team, if that makes sense. That's why they're considered main tanks.
I guess, yeah. It's just different. Does Sideways have anything to add on that one, or did Brain just answer for him?
No, I want to go back to what we were talking about before we went off on this tangent.
Sounds good.
What's that?
I don't know, the Justice.
Oh, we were done with the Justice.
Yeah.
Okay. And I want to see them. Yeah. I want to see the Justice as a middle of the pack team rather than an end team who has a weird playoff berth. As long as they go better than Boston Uprising, then I'm happy. Yeah, that's fine. But anyway, they're going to be better than Toronto. They're going to be better than the Boston Uprising. But
well, yeah, with the lineup like Decay, Tuba, Mag, Fury.
Yeah,
their support line is probably going to be their weakest link, but like everything else looks really good.
Yeah,
Yep.
it does.
All right, that brings us to our last segment. As you guys can see around us, up here and down here, there's been a certain map. We're gonna do this at the end of every
The best map.
we're gonna do this at the end of every show. We are going to do a map analysis, meta-analysis, opinion piece on the map that is going to be surrounding us. So today, as you guys can see, it's Kings Row. Collectively, I think Kings Row is all of our favorites.
No,
I love playing King Row.
Supbud likes Volskaya.
Yeah, Supbud loves Volskaya.
No. See, I will.
But
I think every single time we play, he's always like, "Oh man, I hope we get Volskaya first."
Yeah, exactly.
No, I will tell you right now, Volskaya is my least favorite map of the whole entire.
Really?
Interesting. I don't remember you saying that.
What's your least favorite map?
Volskaya. By far. There's no argument there.
I don't know. I don't like Blizzard World, but then again, it is a hybrid map at least.
Yeah, that's what gives me Blizzard World.
We'll save all this for when we talk about each map when it comes to.
Yeah, exactly.
But
okay, so
going back
Kings
to
Row. The reason.
yeah.
The reason it's my favorite is it gives me. It's a really good map to play pretty much all my favorite heroes.
Well, you love playing Zarya on that map.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I love playing Zarya on that map. I love playing Ryan on that map. I love playing Tracer on that map. I love playing Pharah's a real fun one to play on that map. I don't like playing her too much, but it's still a fun hero.
Play Echo over Pharah.
Yeah, it lends itself to a lot of different play styles for me.
I mean,
you can play dive, you can play brawl, you can play what is it called? Protect the president.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I love the map.
I mean, I like playing Ashe on that map.
Yeah, exactly. There's high ground control. There's low ground control.
What did you say?
Only because I give you a mercy pocket each game.
No, I thought you were gonna say like, oh, that's because you only play Ashe.
I think there's many different play styles on that map to be had. Why is it your favorite? Really quickly.
It's my favorite because not only can you play any type of support, which I love, it's just the ability to play also passive and aggressive on both defense and offense on the map. It just makes it a lot more fun and challenging, and it's just, I think it's the best. Mercy with the pocket for the Ashe. You have a Lucio speed boost, and you can go through the hotel, right side of the statue, which is a huge thing. And then Ana, you have Zenyatta, pushing in powerful. You got the nano boost. You got the transcendence. I will say I don't like Brig. Brig is my least favorite healer. But you can still do damage with her, and she's
with
really
brawl
good
and stuff like that. Yeah.
Exactly, on defense, yes. And Moira. Moira's defensive is just amazing as well. And but I really enjoy playing the Ana and the Zenyatta on the first point as a way to secure it, because it's very aggressive, very fast timing consuming when it comes to it. And then as soon as you get first point, you got Lucio, which is amazing because you're playing in a tight quarter, you're playing in very compacted area, and when you're a Lucio main and you just are using that, you can literally just skate around the whole entire walls of itself and heal your team while not even taking damage if no one can reach you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's a lot of people's favorite maps because there's very little downsides on both sides of attack and defense. There's a lot of, it's very fair on both sides. I think the only unfair thing for attack is it's kind of hard to get through that first defense,
through that
the very
choke.
first one through the choke.
Yeah.
And then the unfair thing on defense is when you're fighting in the middle part in the second point, it's a long walk back from.
Yeah, but I mean, you could say the same thing for other maps like Eichenwald, Numbani.
Yeah, exactly. It's a relatively small map for attackers. I think attackers have a better advantage for most of it, all the way up until the third point, and you literally cannot at me if you play it right. But I think it gives you a good mix of high ground to brawl, back to high ground control. I think on the first point there's too much high ground to ignore it, but most teams in our ELO do though. But
Did you guys ever watch the finals at all or anything? I know Sideways said he didn't watch a little of it. I mean, didn't watch some of it, but did you?
I did not.
Oh, I want to point out when Moth was a Mercy on Volskaya. I mean, I'm sorry, on Kingsborough, and
I told you it was his favorite map.
Keeps bringing it up, dude.
And he rezzed ons with the super boost that Mercy had. It's amazing to see that, and like it's so cool to just, and you know, he was part of the high ground the whole time. As soon as I forgot which team they were playing against, but as soon as you round that corner by the hotel, your high ground potential is like it's probably the best in the game.
Yeah, and I think there's easy access to high ground if you're playing attack on the first point and defense. Actually, I think it's a little harder to get to high ground if you're playing defense. You got to go back a little bit
into the hotel area.
Yeah, you got to go back or you got to go forward into the other team. Attack, it's pretty easy to get up there. Again, not too many people use it. We saw it in the Great Bamboozle. They moved around. They actually took the hard path up to high ground and went all the way around. I just think, and it can be balanced if you play it right, and it can be you can get super fucked if you don't play it right as attack. On defense, I think it gives you a couple of good places to set up on high ground. Gives you a really good place to set up between statue and hotel. And if you got a Ryan there, you can move from side to side with with a Lucio and Mercy pocket. I think a Reinhardt can almost stand by himself.
Moff's booth on the third point where he the Orisa ball, the Orisa pole, and then the Moth booth on into the
And then I think the attackers on the very first part of the second point, the defenders have a huge advantage. That choke point, again, it's a choke point, but after that I feel like you're hard pressed to not get third point, or not get to the third point as the attackers. Like if you don't, it's kind of a fail. There are a couple of hard parts for the attackers, like the second bend, but if you hit it at the right angle, you got a Junkrat in the back, up on the top, on the stairs. You got an Ash back there. You got somebody shooting from above. High ground really controls that very last bit of point of the second point. Brawl pretty much the whole time. Maybe brawl with a sniper or a long range hit scan like Ash. Doomfist does really well on that second point. Not so well on the third point, and he does okay on the first point.
It's just because the second point is so condensed.
Everything's so small. Everything's so like I mean, you hit that first corner and you're just like, oh shit, Doomfist in my face, and you hit against the wall. I mean, Doomfist's biggest weakness are open spaces, right? There's no open spaces really. You're hard pressed to find one. Doomfist Ash, probably a good one. Echo Ash to stay up on the high ground. Pharah Ash. Pharah Widow. Anything with a Widow Ash. Maybe even a McCree. McCree's pretty good on that second one. Not great, but good. And then for the defenders, I think your best bet is to play Ryan Zarya. Probably what you were playing on first point. Orisa's pretty good on first point too. Orisa Ryan, pretty good on first point. Just it's a bunch of shields. You can stay on the high ground. Ryan's not really good on the high ground, but
well, keep in mind, like compared to the other main tanks right now, like Ryan did get his buff, but like even in like the higher SRs and stuff like that, Ryan's still seeing barely any playtime.
Yeah, exactly.
Most people are playing Orisa Sigma.
Sigma's great. I love playing
double shield.
Yeah, Sigma's pretty good throughout the whole map, except for the last part, really. The last point.
Unless you want to like go for that cheeky gravitic flux where you jump under and fly back up.
Yeah.
But that can go on either side.
Yeah, it can.
So let's see, that's second. So second doesn't lend itself to a lot of high ground control, but if you play it right, it's just really hard to get there on either side. You have to backtrack to the hotel. You have to either backtrack to the hotel to get up there or fly, and then you only have a couple of very specific lanes to hit them, and then it kind of gets you mixed up, right? Like, let's say you come out behind them all the way near third point, right? Let's say you come out behind them, you're cut off from the rest of your team. If they're in that choke point, you're completely cut off. And there's absolutely no high ground to get behind them if the defense is playing it right. There's no high ground to get behind them, and you can't see them from the side. So, yeah, attackers have a hard time on the high ground, but for the very end of that second, you're getting pretty good. You're getting pretty good high ground coverage. You got that one building where spawn comes out of. You got the catwalk between between the last part. And again, it really does, that second point really does lend itself a lot to brawl play styles, which is a supporting sniper, a supporting long range in the back. Then we move on to third point. For defense, I suggest you run Ryan Zarya and just play aggressive as shit. I mean, Zarya is just the king. How many times do I switch to Zarya on the third point and we win?
Like every time.
Yeah, like every time. Like, and we just full hold right there. Because she's just... because when you come out of spawn, you have one of two choices. You can either come from... When you're looking at their spawn as a defender, you're coming from the right. It's very small. So you send your Reinhardt in there with a bubble. You send yourself in there with a bubble. And you just have long ranges, hit them from behind. Those bubbles just keep them protected, and it focuses all the damage into one spot, right? With the Rhine swinging the hammer, or you going in and just dropping bombs. And then there's too many good places to throw a grav, and even on the other side too. It's just not open. It's too small not to play Zarya, right? And then attackers, I mean, you just got to power through it. Try to take the side. Try to take big health pack when you're looking at the defenders. Try to take big health pack on the right side. Get a Widow or an Ashe up to the top, just to rain damage from above. A big one is like Pharah or Echo. If they don't have you covered on those, you can just get up to the top and you're just raining damage down from above. That's all you can really do. That second turn is just hard. I mean. Neither attack nor defense have a easy way to get to the high ground. You have to play specific characters for it. So you have to play Widow, or you have to play Ashe, Hanzo, Reaper.
Genji, Hanzo, yeah.
And even then, like,
Genji
Reaper's
off the
not
lane.
good as a high ground. Like,
What's
you want to play Reaper on the low ground. You want to play Reaper in their face.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're using Reaper to just shadow step up there to deal with whatever's
Whatever's going on up there, yeah.
Or get up there, Death Blossom from above.
Yeah, exactly. The high ground's not really the play most of the time. May's a really good one for that last corner. But yeah, in that last corner, the attackers have another big disadvantage because you have close spawn. It's about halfway spawn for each, but the defenders tend to come back really quickly. And then if you got an Ashe raining from above, it's hard. You got a Widow just picking you off as you're coming in, because the sight line allows itself to have, even if you got a Rhine barrier up on that second corner, I mean, you still get the entirety of the back line. Like, it just doesn't cut off your sight lines like that. So you got to play like a Winston to get the high ground, or you got to play, which then, just switch to Reaper. You know, it's real hard for the attackers on that third point. It's easy on the second point. They have a hard time on the third point. And then, like I said, nobody really gets high ground unless you have a specific character to go up there. Attackers, high ground, there's not as much to do because of those boxes on the right side high ground. Those boxes, and then
they block your view.
Yeah, they block your view, and then when you move past to look at their back line, it's just too cut off. You can't drop down very easily because there's a hole right there. And then as soon as you drop down, you're completely cut off from your team.
Yeah.
Defenders, just keep on chugging. You should be okay. Diva on attack is actually really good. Diva Sombra, just to throw the bomb over right side and then hack them as it comes in. It's really an open space, and it's really easy to get just a shitload of kills. There's not too many places they can hide.
Mm-hmm.
They can take the back room, but again, if you're throwing a Diva bomb in, you should be rushing in right after.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there should be no reason that you're sticking around in the back on that corner, because I mean, if a Diva bomb's going in, they're either going to like run and hide, or they're all gonna get killed anyway.
Well, they're mainly going to focus on the Diva Bomb.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're
So
going
they
to
should
get
be going
behind
in.
the shield.
Exactly.
And then when that shield gets hacked, then uh-oh.
Yeah. So, yeah, like I said, attack, run, Diva Ryan. Diva Sigma's really good because you can also McCree's not great on that last one. Tracer's really good as a DPS on attack, just so you can get into their back lines and disrupt them a little bit. Ash can be good if you get into the right, get on top of those boxes, and then rain from above. Bob's really good just to get your extra power go through. If they're playing Widow, a counter Widow's pretty good because you do have a couple of spots where you can hide and you can get them. If they're playing that Widow or Ash on the top ground, on the high ground, just run your dive tanks into it.
Or pick them off with the Widow or Ash.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's just attackers. Two out of the 3 spots attackers are disadvantaged at. So it's not a very attacker-oriented map, but defense, I just feel like it's fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's fun on attack too. Don't get me wrong. I'm terrible at Widow, but I love grappling to the top on attack to see if they have like a Hanzo or a Widow that I can snipe from the beginning. And when we first started playing the game and I found that strat out, I thought it was genius.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked every time.
Don't forget the time that Gesture bodied soon.
Oh, yeah. The main tank from London Spitfire just came up and bodied, like, and just domed soon. And then they went on to win the game. It's like... you just got to give and take. This is just my favorite map. It's a beautiful map.
That's what I was just about to say. Like, just keep in mind, like, it's also, like, just a beautiful, well-designed map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like Volskaya,
And also has the best
beautiful map.
backstory out of anything.
It has the biggest backstory. I don't know. I kind of like Hanamura's backstory.
Widowmaker kills Zenyatta's brother or something. I think.
No, it was just
No, it was like a monk.
Or it was,
It was
a
one of
monk.
the biggest
monks.
It was a monk that Zenyatta studied under, and
I'll-
Widowmaker.
I'll read it right now in my Overwatch Chronicles. He got it for me for my birthday.
There you go. Perfect.
I don't know. I like Route 66's.
Really? Well, you like the
We'll
aesthetic.
get another time, but just know that when.
Well,
that
no. I'm not
happens-
talking about the map. I'm talking about the backstory and
Oh,
the
of course.
backstory.
the
Well, I wonder
clip
why.
for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Because it's McCree.
Even though Ash gets destroyed by, even though McCree destroys Bob.
It's a beautiful map. Out of 10, I'd give it an 8 or a 9. Probably my favorite map by far. There's obviously different things that go into this, that go into my 8 or 9 rating. Gameplay, it's a 10 out of 10. Design, as far as like how beautiful it is, it just gets a 7 or an 8 from me. It's a beautiful map, but it's not the most beautiful map. I think there's
That'd be
plenty of
Hanamura.
other maps. Oh, yeah.
I would have
Probably.
to say King's Row Christmas design is the best.
Probably. I'd
I
give
like
it that.
King's Row, the holiday King's Row over the
Yeah,
holiday.
the holiday
Hanamura.
King's Row is the best.
Yeah.
But so yeah, my overall rating is an 8 or a 9 out of 10. I keep going back and forth. What about you?
I'd say 9.
9?
Yeah.
That's fine.
I'd say 9 as well.
9?
Nothing can be perfect. It's just I think.
Yeah,
No, yeah,
I don't think
exactly.
that there's any map in Overwatch that's a perfect
I don't
10.
think anything can beat King Row, and honestly, in Overwatch 2, if they come out with some, I don't think they can even beat King's Row in OW2.
Yeah.
Guess
Well,
we'll see.
the final thoughts on it are like, let's just put it this way: every time King's Row comes up, every each one of us go, fuck yeah, King's Row. Every time Hanamura comes up, which is probably one of my favorite maps, every time Hanamura comes up, I go, fuck yeah, Hanamura. He goes, okay, Hanamura.
Yeah,
And
I mean, like,
Supbud
Hanamura
goes,
is my
I
favorite.
fucking hate Hanamura.
Hanamura is my favorite 2CP map, but I'd
Yeah.
rather play a different mode, you know what I mean?
It's just everybody has their own opinions on this, and we're not looking to flame anybody for anything.
Well, but then also,
But
like,
we
look at
could-
the general consensus. Like, the people that we've been playing recently were like, oh, yeah, I hope we get King's Row. And everybody's like, yeah, King's Row, that's my favorite map. you
King's
know?
Row- King's Row definitely
we can all
is
agree
one of
that
the
King's Row
favorites.
is the go-to map for most Overwatch players.
Yeah, I would be comfortable with saying that. Yeah, King's Row's a good map, great map. Anyway, that was our show, guys. again, we got Sideways, Brainwashed, and Sup Bud. You guys ready to keep this going?
Like, what do you mean?
You guys ready to more episodes?
Oh,
and
more
everything?
episodes. Yeah. I was like,
We'll see
it's
how
like
this
2
goes.
a.m. and
And
I don't know
then,
how much longer I can stay awake. Keep this going. Yeah, for another 3 hours. Let's do it.
Yeah,
So,
no, we're good, yeah. Keep this up,
alright.
and then to cancel off, the weekly say too. Don't talk to your roommates, and don't skip out on a game and lose 50 SR.
Oh, yeah,
no,
you lagged out.
he totally messed that up. Anyway,
lagged
this
out.
is BS Squared Gaming, and remember, don't get drunk and
Time
lose
out of
50
your-
SR.
Yeah.
So
in
everybody
mind-
have a great night.
Keep in mind, too, guys, that we're making this show just for the fun of it, and we're passionate
Yes.
about the game. We are very, well, I wouldn't say bad. We're definitely not professionals, and
But I think we have a pretty good grasp on the game.
yeah.
We're just trying to have fun here. We love this game. I mean, truthfully, it's my favorite multiplayer game. It's probably my favorite game of all time.
This is how all three of us met actually. Sideways
Yeah.
and Brain were already friends, and then I met them through playing the game one night, and we all talked. I mean, it was their idea. I somehow was able to talk my way into this somehow, but
He powered his
Somehow.
way into it. He
I
said,
talked
"I'm
my
in."
way through this, but yeah, no, it's a great game, and it's the only one that we really play. I mean, granted, yeah, we will talk about other things as well, but
Yeah.
it's cool that as a community that this stuff can happen, and
Exactly.
it just shows that this is a great, it's a great, like a great time to do.
Yep. All right.
What are you talking about? It's a dead game. It's a dead
It's a
game.
dead game. All right. This is BS. This is BS Squared Gaming, guys. Thank you for listening, and have a good night.